Right?
It's not a power
It's
level.
Not a power level
Disappointment.
It's like
my
my toys.
I think that's actually a good thing for you to say, Chuck. Is that exact level anecdote? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know that this is worse, but it's not the things that I came for.
Yep.
I told it to stream, but it's not streaming.
That sounds
That
like
sounds like
podcasting.
Oh wait, is it going now? It is going now. All right.
That also sounds
That
like
also sounds like podcasting.
You're not wrong. Okay. Hello, we are here. Who can hear us? Oh, I bet Danny is causing double audio. I know how to fix that.
classic.
Am I?
Dean.
Oh, it's not your fault. When I add
just
new
your
people
presence.
in, they echo until I turn something off.
Oh, okay.
And you weren't. I think you've been on the show before, but I don't think you've been on the Twitch live version before, based on everything I just had to do.
Probably not.
All right. Let's make sure people can hear us. Man, my allergies are so bad this morning, and I woke up 30 minutes ago. This is going to be great. I normally wake up at 6:30 in the morning, even on the weekends. And this morning I woke up and went to the bathroom, and I'm like, maybe I'll go back to sleep. And then I woke up at 8:30, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm podcasting in 30 minutes. And at that time, I had not gone through all the Grunhammer articles and made sure I know about all the changes we're talking about. So I've now done that. Okay. No one's here to tell us that they can hear us. So I'm just going to presume they can. I'm going to blow my nose one more time, and then we're going to go.
Just gonna grab a cup of water real quick.
Plan. I'm going to figure out what the points on Noise Marines are now, real quick. Oh, we're looking at different things.
They increased by 5 points a model.
Bastards.
Just kidding. I have no idea.
It's my thing. It's like, oh, they changed warp time. Good, because Chaos was just the worst. They were just wrecking everyone. Oh, Sonic Blasters at 5, yeah, so 21 each.
All right. Okay, I think we're ready as soon as Mitch comes back. Mitch has got an AdMech person filling in for him.
I have some hot chain gun havoc takes for this podcast, so better get ready.
This is our having Danny on before he becomes an even bigger superstar, so that'll be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get him while you can. Before you know it, he won't even know it.
Oh, yeah.
Hashtag sellout.
Yeah, get them all like.
I just wanted to have him on the show while he's still responding to my messages. That's
Exactly. Well, he'll always respond to your messages, Colin. You run the Mob Rules Discord.
true. That's true. He has to. I'm doing important work for the Mob Rules podcast.
Are you guys going to put a link to our Discord in your Discord so if people join, you can be like, "This is the actual Patreon you wanted."
I like the idea of.
It's the ultimate troll. Like, oh, you joined ours. That's kind of the joke.
That's funny. All right, are we ready to go?
Yeah.
I think that Danny already is too big for most people. I'm just saying. Okay.
That's true.
All right, so we're gonna start. Then I'm gonna give a Charity Hammer update, which is relevant to everyone, and then we're going to talk about things that have changed. And if we have time, the Better Human, Better 40K segment will be about asking for help. Okay. All right. Welcome to Best in Faction.
A podcast about playing competitive Warhammer 40K.
I'm Colin,
I'm Mitch.
And I'm Chuck.
and Danny is here, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, I am.
You are. So Danny is here, formerly, well, actually, still of the Mob Rules podcast, which is a long-time favorite of all of ours. And Danny has been a friend of ours for years now. And Danny also came to Charity Hammer last year. So Yeah, like a year and a half ago now, I guess.
Yeah.
And
I remember
hopefully,
the severe
Charity
whooping I got
hammer.
when he was
Yeah.
here.
yeah.
Let's not put time on things. It just makes it more depressing. Just the last charity hammer.
There you go.
But he is hopefully coming to the next Charity Hammer. But what? Well, we wanted Danny on here for Danny's hot takes about the changes to 40K. I also wanted a chance to have Danny on to talk about what his new project is. And so before we get rolling, I'd like Danny to share what's happening with him and his good friend John over the next little while here.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So hello, everyone, first of all. Secondly, John and I are going to be walking back Mob Rules to about once a month. We put out a message on our YouTube about that. I know, but unfortunately, you can listen to us even more. We'll be doing a weekly live cast on the new FLG network for our new project called Grim After Dark, which is kind of like an hour-long. It's like an hour-long episode of Mob Rules in a lot of ways. We'll be doing some sketches, interviews. We'll be doing like different segments that we've done before, but updated, better, with better technology and editing. And maybe some production value. I don't know. But yeah, definitely check us out. We'll every week on Tuesday evenings at 10 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be there.
Okay.
Please listen to
What
us.
was kind of the idea behind that, Danny? Why do you want? You're basically doing like a 40K Tonight Show, right? Like a Letterman or
Yeah.
Leno style thing. And what's kind of the idea of that? Like, what made you want to do that?
So first of all, it plays to a lot of our strengths in that, like John is an excellent interviewer and is super amazing at coming up with ideas, and I laugh at everything, so I get to be the Ed McMahon to his Johnny Carson, and it'll work. I think it'll work out really well.
I love that I laughed at that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, our rules are
Conceptually,
strong.
it's great. Yeah.
With that reference, I really want. Is it what's the name of the prediction? Is it man, so long ago. The thing where
I know, yeah.
he holds the letter to his forehead and he goes, then the answer is
Right.
like, I think you should bring that back if you're gonna be Ed McMahon. You have to overly react to all of those, even if they're not clever. That's part of Ed McMahon's job.
Yeah. Well, that and Publishers Clearinghouse, those two things.
Yes. That's great. Well, I'm super excited because recently, well, I don't know how recently it was, last year sometime, I had a chance to go on Mob Rolls, and they treated it more like an interview and less like a tell me about the games or tell me about what's changing in 40K or like the normal content that I talk about, which is, always very about these are the new facts, right? The new things that are changed. The new, they just talked to me like I was a person, and I had the most fun. And then I got more compliments about being on that interview show than I have in a long time being on my own show. So I think that Danny and John are actually quite good at interviewing people, and so I'm excited for them, of all people, to kind of take that new idea forward. I think it's going to be really, really great. I hope.
We're super excited about it, for sure. And hopefully we'll be getting tournament winners in addition to like other 40K personalities, and just getting to know some people a little bit better, which I think makes people seem way more awesome than they normally would if you just viewed them through the lens of purely 40K.
Right. I'm actually we're doing a lot to try to add more of the human element to Charity Hammer this year. I think that what people are interested in is not just the games and how to play 40K better. They're also interested in what is it like to have this group of 35 mostly incredibly high skill 40K players all hanging out for a long weekend together. Like, what is that experience actually like? Things like Gus Cam that's been talked about. Can we put a camera on Gus, and can we send Gus to see everyone while they're playing? And we'll just have a video of Gus looking up at everybody while they pet him and he moves through the room. Like, can we do that? I think we can. So, there's a lot of that sort of stuff. So, Danny, wonderful to have you here. Let me talk through the agenda of the show. We're going to do a bit of a Charity Hammer update because I've got big news there. Then we're going to talk about what's changed, and it's a lot. Adbec has come out yesterday, right? Or was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday was AdMech release. And then Sisters are
Sounds
out
right.
next week. We have new points. We have new facts. 2 of the better armies in the game have new books. Lots is different. Drukari's been nerfed. All types of stuff going on. We're going to talk through all of the factions. We're going to be light on the ones that have brand new codexes until we've all had a chance to play them more. But we're going to go through all of all of the different armies, and what's changed, and what we see happening there. And if depending on how long that takes, we'll launch into our second edition of Better Human, Better 40K, which everyone loved. One of the most complimented things we've done in a long time. So I have made it longer. It was 3 episodes. It's now 7, and we'll keep trying to come up with topics to talk about. But I'd like to do that today, but there is a limitation to how long we can be on here. Several of us have Sunday plans that we would like to participate in. So that's what's up. Let's get into the news. First of all, next weekend, Chuck and Mitch and I will be going to the Pacific Northwest, I believe, first team event ever, but maybe it's his first team event in a long time.
I'm not sure. I've never seen one.
Yeah, and so we want to get to a point where there's a 5v5 tournament here in the Pacific Northwest, which is really relevant to Danny, because the really big news for Danny is much bigger than his show on Frontline. The big news for Danny is he's moving to Armada. Like, that's decided, right, Danny? Like, you're not still deciding where to go? Like, that's locked in?
Yeah, no, like 99, like unless something horrible happens, so I'm knocking on wood. We're moving to Idaho here in the beginning of August. So right on the border. So western Idaho to Moscow.
He'll be about 5 hours from me, just to put that into context.
And he'll be near one of the nicest game stores in Washington.
Yep.
The Gamers Haven, which has just finished their full build out at their new building with their amazing Creole restaurant next door. Just a phenomenal play space. I haven't gotten to see it in person yet, but I cannot wait.
And man, was it cool to see that his Magic the Gathering tables have plexiglass shields on them. Like, I understand that everyone who wants to is getting vaccinated. It was really cool to see Bob be like, yeah, and if we're going to have Magic tournaments, why would we have them breathing on each other? And since most of them probably smell bad, I think it's great.
I think that any scenario where we can reduce how much Magic players breathe on each other or anyone else that's a win-win.
It used to be that Pokemon was the really smelly group. When I would go into a store to buy like models or whatever, and they were playing the tournament, it used to be the Pokemon group that was really bad. I don't even know if Pokemon is still played heavily or anymore. If COVID killed it, I don't know any of that.
Oh man, the cards are worth a lot.
Are they? I know the first edition ones from like when we were all really young are worth a lot. I didn't think anything else was. Anyways, enough about Pokemon. So yeah, Danny's going to be close enough to come to our bigger tournaments out here. That's going to be wildly fun. It's going to mean that we get a chance to see him more often, and it also will up the rest of us because Danny's an excellent player.
Yeah, it's a great addition to the meta.
Yep. So, but anyways, we want there to be at least a yearly 5v5 tournament out here that's big. Jason Bird, who runs a lot of our local tournaments, is happy to do the work on that, but we have to get the excitement of the area. So we're starting with a 3-person team tournament, which is not as strategically interesting. You don't get the mini game of pairings isn't quite as good, but it'll still be great fun. And it's a great opportunity for the hosts of Biff Pod to go together. So we're going to go together, which will make the following episode really fun. I think that we can say what we're all playing. I'm going to play Marines of some sort. Probably Ultramarines, could be White Scars. Chuck, you're going to play Weird
Old Sisters with New Sisters point costs.
Yeah.
Which is sort of broken. That's fine by me.
How many points did you get to spend on your list? Like freedom points?
Oh, current points? It's I'm playing 2,193 points.
Okay, excellent.
Man.
And
because that's what Sisters needed, was a good strong bump.
Yes, good strong points reduction.
To be the best army in the game again. Yes, that is what they need.
But the codex does explain why those points reductions happened. It's just that the points are
absolutely.
in, and the points are in, and the codex is not. Is the problem?
Yep.
So, and then Mitch, you are not going to play guard.
No, I'm playing whatever AdMech, Noah Badome and I, who's very graciously helping me until I can get the rest of my AdMech into shape. Whatever we can come up with. But no matter what, it's going to be a fun,
Yeah.
shooty, weird, tricksy list. So I'm happy.
So yeah, we're gonna do Marine Sisters and AdBech, and I mean, I guess that's pretty good. I guess it's all right.
We're all Imperial this time. This is if I had been told a year ago that we would be playing in a team tournament and Colin and Chuck were going to be playing Imperial armies, I would not have believed you.
I still don't. Like, there's still a week.
I still regularly.
I was gonna say I'm really surprised. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead, Danny.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm really surprised that you guys decided to really theme your armies this heavily, like you've decided to.
Yeah.
It's really great to see you guys kind of take that step to the more narrative side of wargaming.
And two of us fully borrowing our armies from other people is also very in the spirit of of that. I was just gonna say that I'm actually not happy about playing Marines. Like, they're fine. I'm enjoying them. It's okay. I started building them during the pandemic when I realized they're always going to be good and we need them as a stream army. Like, I literally started building them with the simplest, brightest paint job possible so they'd show up on stream, with the idea that we are going to need to stream Marines and we never get to. And that ended up with me playing White Scars and then Dark Angels. Boo. And then, well, I hated the way the army played. And then
I think that's just what Danny's playing. He just reveals attack, probably.
Well, not anymore. I don't think he is, but we'll talk about that. Dark Angels did not make it through the last week very well. And then I moved to the Ultramarines, which, of course, as we talked about last time, are stupid to the highest degrees. So anyways, I'm hoping that something that I'm excited about comes out sometime soon, rather than Chuck systematically getting all of his codexes in the shortest period of time possible, which is what's currently happening.
I literally have to budget right now because I'm going to get codex. And I have to make sure that I have, the funds necessary to buy them new models.
I've tried to tell him that the Thousand Suns Codex won't be good, and so he doesn't need to worry about it, because it's Chaos, and they don't know how to write Chaos rules. So I've tried to tell him that, but I don't think it's helped.
They gave me a drop pod there. I'm in.
Yeah, have you not seen that they have something the Imperium has had for several editions, and they just got it, so they're very excited.
We know how to open the door to it. It's great.
So we're gonna go to that team tournament. It's gonna be really fun. We will at the end. We'll cover that on the next episode. It should be a great time. Team tournaments are the best way to play 40K. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, there is room for 2 more teams. Get 2 of your buddies, or let Jason know you need people to be synced up with. He'll give you people. Go to a team tournament. It is the most fun you'll have.
He does have 3D printed people on hand. He will give you people.
Yes.
It's a little weird to go into that back part of the hobby shop, but I gotta say, like, the painting's really impressive.
It's like Mannequin. They just come to life at night.
He needed more people to get to.
I want to be clear. We've now done Carson and Mannequin references. I just want to be clear that this group being, except Mitch, the rest of us...
We know our age.
Yes, we do.
You know your demographic.
Yeah. We actually did a thing in the Discord the other day that I'll share before we continue on, where we shared the year we were born, but we shared it by the song that was the #1 song that year. There is few things that have ever happened in our Discord that have made me feel so old. Because I said, Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive, which I think is a great song, and I'm perfectly happy having it be the song from the year I was born. Unfortunately, it is a disco song, basically. And then the next person who typed was Tyler Bortel, who said, Mambo number 5.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, Mambo number 5 feels like it was 7 minutes ago to me. It's not, it's 21 years ago. But it does feel like it's 7 minutes ago to me. And then a bunch of people had Ace of Base songs, and while I like Ace of Base, that also made me feel old. So anyways, pretty funny. Okay, so...
I did not participate in this. Apparently it's Need You Tonight by In Excess for me.
Well, that's a great song, though.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Somebody was born in... My littlest birthday party was yesterday, and I was talking to his dad, who was born in '82, and his was what's the dance song with Olivia? Oh man, now I can't remember. No, it's Let's Get Physical. That's what his song was from '82.
Oh man.
Which I think is the most 1982 song. I mean, like,
Yeah.
come up with a song that describes the early '80s. Let's Get Physical. Done. Great. Got it. Okay. So, other thing I want to talk about is Charity Hammer. I think I said this last time. I'm going to say it again. We have passed the no-go date. Charity Hammer is happening for sure. August 5th through 8th. Starts at 2 p.m. Pacific on Thursday, August 5th. Ends 3 p.m. Pacific on Sunday. Sunday. We're stopping 3 hours earlier than we normally do so people can get out of here. I'm farther from the airport than I've been before. And we're starting a full day earlier. So if you have vacation time you have not used, that you would like to use, go request off the Friday, August... Oh, I like when Lisa appears magically from behind Mitch. Oh, she's gone. Oh, no, she's coming back again. Okay. Okay. It just really amuses me. I'm sorry, guys. If you have time off, take that Friday off because we're going to be playing 40K on 3 streams the entire time. And you're not going to want to sleep. You're not going to want to eat. You should eat, though, and you should sleep. But you're not going to want to do either of those because you're going to be so excited. Do those things. But you're not going to want to. Eat while watching. That's fine. Sleeping's harder. So, Charity Hammer is going to start on Thursday this year. It's going to kick off with just some games that I've always wanted to see from people that are across the country from each other. Don't know exactly what that's going to look like. Then we're going to kick off. Then we're going to do Colin and Nick, which is the first game after the kickoff each year. We'll do Colin and Nick, but we'll also do like John Lennon and Brian Pullen. We'll do like Sigler and Brad Chester. We'll do top players that don't get to play each other very often because they don't live near each other. So that'll be the great first round. And then on Friday, we'll start out into the 32-player single elimination GT. It is going to be filled with about 20 people that have won GTs in the past few years. So I think that it might be, and then a bunch of the best players in the Pacific Northwest. I think it's going to be a bonkers difficult thing to win. I do not expect to win it. I do not expect the people on this call to win it. And that's okay. I wouldn't be surprised if any of us got to the final few rounds, but it's going to be brutal. I would like
to win my first game. That sounds great.
Right. So what's going to happen is we're inviting about 22 people to Charity Hammer that are going to play in this. And then what we're doing is we're doing a GT here a month earlier, and we're taking the top 10 finishers from that GT and putting them in. So what it ends up being is 22 people that have won a bunch of things and are big names in 40K, and the 10 best players we could find from a previous tournament from our area. And then the Falcon is going to seed all 32 people based on their last, recent history of their career in 40K. 8th edition, 9th edition, basically. He's going to seed everyone, and then 1 will play 32, 2 will play 31, 3 will play 30. And the first 16 games won't all be on stream because it's too many. But what we'll do is we'll have all of you guys out there, we'll have the listeners vote for which 6 of the first 16 games they want to see on stream. And then the other 10 games will play off stream. So that way we'll have the first round will be kind of easily handled. That'll all be on Friday. Then from there we'll have 16 people left, and all of those games will be on stream. We're also going to take the 16 people that lost the first round and put them into a single elimination RTT of their own. What that does is it makes sure that if somebody comes to play, they at least get 2 games of tournament games. Because if you win the first one, you can lose the second one and then you're out fine. But if you lose the first one, you then get to go to this other RTT that's also a single lim and at least get to play that one more game. It also means that if one of the bigger name people is upset in the first round, we still get to see them on stream later in the weekend. That first round of 8 games, we aren't going to put that on stream. Again, too many games. But we'll put the rest of it on. We'll put the losers bracket finals will all be on stream. So you get to see who wins that as well. So that's what's happening tournament-wise, and both of those are ITC point tournaments you'll be able to follow in BCP. Both of those are going to be real things. But that's what's happening for that, and then Saturday night we're going to have the hot wings eating contest, which I'm excited about. Yeah, I'm excited about that. We've got some trash talking going on in the Charity Hammer planning groups about that. So that should be great.
I talk no trash. Just I promise heartburn. That's all I can do.
We are going to
Well, for
have
charity.
we're going to have a lot of extra content that's being created, interviews, videos about how people play their army, stuff like that's all going to be made. It's going to be it's going to be great. We're going to have all of the Art of War guys I think are coming. So we'll have Chester and Sigler and Nanavati and Perry and Lennon, all those guys. We're going to have Alex McDougall's going to be here. Falcon's trying to make it through the border. Jim Vessel's coming again. Danny's hoping to be here. Danny does have to move like a week before, so if Danny can't
Oh.
come, it will be a thing.
Yeah, just because he has commitments to his family
Yep.
and like his and Fred and like that's just nonsense.
Well,
my-
actually, now that
40K.
you said it's about Fred, I'm
I
accepting.
know. I was gonna lose support when I brought that up, but still the point.
I'm going to spend my week trying to get Andrew Gagno to agree to come. That's
Yes,
on my
please.
to-do list for this week. I'm going to spend part of this week trying to get Shuckman to come. I think he's got brand new little kids. So that might be hard. But we'll try to get him to come. There's a few other people on my list that I'm just going to start nonstop DMing this week. We need just a couple more people. So if you are a person listening to the show and you have won many things, like you have won several GTs over the past since 8th edition and 9th edition, let's say, and you say, I am a great person to play 40k against. I am a good ambassador for the game, and I have won the things, and I would like to go to Charity Hammer. Message me. We'll talk about it. I do not need more volunteers right now. We have lots of volunteers. We have lots of people that have not won things that are going to come help out. I need more people that have won things. It's the point of Charity Hammer, is to have this be the hardest tournament it possibly can be. So, yeah, let me know. Okay, that's the Charity Hammer update. Lots more coming on that. We're going to do a special episode where Falcon unveils the seeding and we talk about the first matchings. We're going to let you guys predict who's going to win. All of that to come. The money will be for Child's Play, like it traditionally is. That's a charity, for those that don't know, that provides toys and games and things to children's hospitals. Lots of research that if kids are happy, they heal better. There's crazy amounts. The Patch Adams movie is not ridiculous. It's an actual thing. So you need to make...
Well, I mean, the movie's a little. They took some liberties there.
Well, sure.
But yes.
But the concept is
the
real.
concept is sound.
Yeah. So that's what's going on. There'll be tons of prizes to win. I don't know what they will all be yet. We need somebody to give an army away. So I'll have to go find that too. Okay, so let's talk about what's new. First of all, we have an AdMech Codex. It's out.
Yes, we do.
It's very powerful. We will probably wait to cover AdMech in detail. AdMech is probably powerful enough that it needs a faction focus, Mitch.
Oh yeah.
Is my thought.
Don't worry.
AdMech probably needs its own episode at this point because it's going to be much like Drukari. I think you're going to see AdMech nonstop. They are. I don't know whether they're a better codex than Drukari. I don't think we'll know that for a month of tournament results probably. But they are phenomenally powerful. They have fantastic tricks. They have game-breaking things that need to be fact. All the things you'd expect from a recent GW
So
codex.
what I would say is, yeah, exactly. The recent codexes, even if you go back to the ones that aren't necessarily quite as powerful, like Death Guard, we're seeing a complexity in the layering of rules where codexes are not solved very quickly. It reminds me of the Eldar Codex back in, I
Yeah.
want to say,
This is
8?
terrible.
yeah, like everyone at first was like just didn't get it, and then people are like, well, if I just take these things, I'm kind of unkillable, and then
Yeah.
I just do all the things.
What if I just stacked all of the minuses to be hit, Mitch? Is that good?
Yeah, it seems like it. They kind of had to create a whole rule to stop that from ever happening.
Yeah.
Again.
Kind of broke the game. Just kind of
Kind of did.
It's kind of
So what I would say about AdMech is they have one. There is not one Forge World that is just the default. This is what you should take. That's great. Mars is great. Lucius is great. Styges is great. Ryza is great. There's a lot of variety here. And it's important to remember that all the combos you're hearing that AdMech can do, chances are that combo is locked into a specific Forge World. And so while, yes, they can have like all of these insane sounding units, if you're going to do that, you need to take 3 different detachments, which is going to deplete your CP, which means you're going to get to do every single one of those tricks exactly one time.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, that durability isn't there necessarily because they don't have the CP to run that engine. They are a CP hungry army. I have been looking more at brigades and different things like that, just because that seems to be a better way to play them. But the data is not in yet. Let's not freak out. Let's see. I would say we should all look to the Falcon. He is going to have the numbers. Mm-hmm. He was immediate to decry when Drukhari very clearly statistically became broken. It was very obvious. If he's not worried about it yet, I'm not worried about it yet.
I will say that the thing that most of my friends are upset about is the flappy guys. They have a strat that lets them leave the end of the turn after, so like you can just bring them in, flame, have their leader do mortal wounds to all of the vehicles within 12, and then shoot something, and even just charge and punch something if you want, and then just leave. And so what that means is that they can come in on 2, leave, come in on 3, leave, come in on 4, leave, come in on 5, kill something and not die. And now they've hit you over and over again throughout the whole game, and you've never interacted with them. I would say it is very unlikely that makes it through a FAQ. Just for those that are upset about it. There's a lot of other rules that are similar to that. Danny pointed this out to me this week. That there's a lot of other rules that they've carefully changed to, you can't do this the turn you come in. Yep. And if it had that change, it's fine. It seems like they just missed a sentence on it.
Yeah, it's the normal language and consistency we've come to expect from a GW release. I don't think anyone should be surprised by that. The tournament we're going to next weekend has already ruled that they can't do it on the turn that they deep strike. That's how they're handling that for the moment. And what I would say is this wouldn't be a problem because Auspex scan is a thing. And lots of armies have a version of that, except for you can make them Lucius, which I believe gives them an extra 3 inches of range on their flamers. And now they don't have to be within 12 inches to deep strike, flame, perform an action and leave. And that's what really kind of pushes it over the top. I think we'll see hopefully a fairly light-handed nerf to this that keeps the unit good and versatile, but doesn't make it so uninteractive for other players.
Yeah, the issue, I think you're right, Mitch, but the issue with Auspex scan is it's bad. They keep making it worse. So, now Auspex scan is troops only in 12 inches. So, you're right, they can just land outside of it. But troops only right now in the Marine meta is brutal. So, what I'm going to shoot them... I'm going to shoot them with 15 auto bolt rifle shots. They're durable. They're not going to die to that. What's that?
It's core.
Oh, is it core? I thought it was true.
Core, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
That's a little better.
That means Dreadnought... Are you sure it's core? Because that means Dreadnoughts can do it. Which I didn't think they could.
Core infantry, but...
core infantry.
Got an app for that.
Because I would like to Auspex scan those guys with the Dreadnought. That would be a thing that I would enjoy doing. I do not think I'm allowed to, though.
So, but anyway, I think that yes, there are those things that just seem like they're a little overtuned or they're just missing wording. But in general, the amount of boxes you need to tick and the number of ways that everything is separated out in the AdMech Codex, there's a lot of requirements for a lot of different things. If you want to buff up a unit, you have to commit to it, and it takes a fair amount of points. I'm not saying that they aren't incredibly strong, and you're not going to have to adapt your playstyle. That should be the case. We have to remember in 40K, when a new army comes out, if we don't have to worry about them, they failed with that codex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? So it should be a little scary. Right now, it's just the uninteractive stuff is not great.
We're all wrong. It's an infantry unit.
Yep.
Which, by the way, for my purposes, is the same thing as what I said in my list.
Yeah, that's fair. But honestly, that's very true for most. I think the only thing you'd be really scared about is hitting, one of the bigger units. But I don't see them very much.
I could put another CP into that to reroll hit. This is for the Ultramarines list I've been playing. I could put another CP in that to reroll hits. So now I'm shooting 15 times, rerolling hits. I'm still not going to kill any of them. They're too durable for that.
And you cost 3 CP at it.
Yeah, and if they're Lucius, they also get an extra +1 armor save because I'm doing 1 damage with my guns, which...
Yep.
So anyways. So that's AdMech. We'll talk a lot more about them in the future. And also we're going to get to see them in tournament games and then do a tournament coverage. So that's going to be great. Chuck, how about... we've only seen leaks for Sisters. So it's not like he's had the book of them for 24 hours. So how about just initial feelings? Because I think what you were saying before we started was really good.
Oh, yeah. I actually think the book is pretty good. From a competitive power stance. It's hard for me because everything that I came to Sisters for is greatly reduced. Going on long charges, generating, 6-7 miracle dice a turn, doing all of that crazy stuff. Those are the parts that I was really having fun with. And now that's all been brought down quite a bit. And they've replaced it with a bunch of durable troops, which is one of the things I was complaining the book really didn't have. I couldn't put a unit on an objective and expect to be there next turn. That's just, I have to put a Rhino and a unit, and the Rhino's got to have a unit in it, and it's like I have to put so many resources out in the open to even have a chance, right? And so they fixed that, but while doing that, they took away the thing that I enjoyed the most, not necessarily the thing that was most powerful. And I think that's the really good key, is they took a big section of fun that I was having out of the book. So I'm really tentative. I'm going to kind of wait until some top players show me the right way to try Sisters, and I'm going to try that out. There's a couple of things I really enjoy. Just the putting a unit of Dominions in a Rhino with a unit of Retributors, and jumping the Rhino up 9 inches to start the game, and then advancing out of the Rhino and still shooting my multi-meltas at you somewhere, and shooting flamers from the Dominions. Like there's stuff in there that's interesting and fun. I'm going to give it a try, but it feels like a very different army to me.
With less miracle dice, which is the thing that you wanted.
Yeah, quite a bit less. I've been watching a couple battle reports, and I was shocked at how much fewer dice people were generating.
That's sad.
So I'll have to see what it's like for me.
Yeah. But you're a North player.
Yeah.
That's what you are. Like, I understand that you like Chaos
are getting
too.
Shelved soon, anytime.
Yeah.
So before we move on from Sisters, I'd love to get Danny's thoughts, because he just did a breakdown on the Sisters decks.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And you obviously play Sisters as well. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so, and like, keep in mind, I have not played them yet in 9th edition just because I've been busy with other armies. So, but that being said, I think Chuck's idea is like pretty right on. I think it's kind of a lateral change. Like, it's not a super big nerf, but I totally understand that even with these little tweaks, like, it does change the overall way the army plays kind of significantly. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm interested to see like how often these 20 girl Battle Sister squads end up showing up, because I think those are a great unit now. I think Repentia got better somehow, like almost. In some ways they're worse because you can't jump out of the Rhino and advance them. Like, because that definitely gave you a definite boost to.
I think 5-mans are going to be the way, but we'll see.
I could see that. And you never want to assault Repentia ever again. Like,
well, as long as that Canonus is around.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Do they need the Canonus to do the fight on death thing?
Well, that makes it free CP.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they gave Repentia fight on death, which for those that have been playing Sisters into the current meta is the biggest buff they could have given them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like charge into that unit that's going to make me fight last. I don't care.
Yeah, I was going to die anyways. So whatever.
Yeah, this is what I came for.
Yeah.
I'm redeemed. So yeah. Like, and Retributors got nerfed a bit, and it'll be a different book. I'm excited to see it. I like the buff, the small tiny buff that Arcoflagellants got. They look a little bit spicier, and I think that they look maybe even better into this meta, like with AdMech being kind of more of a horde army and orcs coming out on the horizon.
So there's two things in Flagellants that I like: the toughness, and then the attacks being static. So it's 2 attacks instead of T3. So they're very consistent. But also, a T4 model with 2 wounds and a 5-up, feel no pain, is like it's going to hang out. Like, it's going to make them work for it.
They're like weirdly durable. What
about the Nundums and the new High Lord of Terra? Like,
well, assuming the Nundums prices are fixed, I think they're a fine choice. The High Lord of Terra is auto-include-ish.
I'm calling her Sister Bobby G. That's what I've been calling her.
Oh, I like her Nundum Prime, but you know.
Nundum Prime? That might be better.
Yeah, Nundum Prime's pretty good.
I love it.
Yeah, she's like, at her points, the buff she's handing out, and then like the damage she's doing, even just standing back shooting, is impressive. Yeah. And then you get in close, she takes out your hard targets really well. So like, I think she's I'm buying her and I'm buying the codex and then waiting on the other stuff.
Well, I think the other thing that can happen here is that we're friends with like the best Sisters players that are going to be out there,
Oh, yeah.
right? So a Sisters faction focus would be really easy to put together and be pretty excellent. We're friends with all the people that do Sister Act are great. John Lennon is going to be he has already committed himself to Sisters for the next many tournaments. Obviously, whatever John comes up with is going to be great. Tim Penny is a great Sisters player. He's bringing Sisters to Charity Hammer, and his version of Sisters is usually very different from John's, so that could be interesting. We have a lot of good Sisters players in our friend.
Yeah,
in
our
our friend group.
last faction focus on Sisters was we did share that episode with the Sister Act podcast, so I'm sure we can set up something like that again.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be great. I'm actually looking to sort of ride on their coattails. Go figure this out for me, and I'll definitely copy one of those lists and see how it plays.
And we'll talk about the Drukhari nerfs when we get to Eldari, but I might finally do a faction focus for Drukhari. I didn't want to do it before the nerfs. Because before the nerfs it was like, this is the thing that's best, and that's what we should be playing. Now with the nerfs, there's going to be more nuance to what a Drukhari list has. So, okay, so all of that happened, but before that happened, we got chapter approved points, and I would say that they released them. Well, we got the leaks. I think they actually came out yesterday, but the leaks came out, and the general community went, "Oh my God, points it! Oh, okay." I think that it was one of the most disappointing. Not mad. People weren't pissed, but like the most disappointing release I've seen in a really long time. I think that people perceived the gross imbalance of the game right now, where as Alex McDougall puts it, play a ninth ed codex or GTFO is the tournament meta right now. I think people were hoping for the older armies to get points. I think we're all in agreement that chapter approved is not really enough, and it isn't probably worth the money they're asking for it, but we're stuck buying it. They didn't do a particularly good job on it, I don't think. But here's the thing to remember. We know that book is from 6 months ago. They've basically said that. There's a thing we've ranted about a bunch on the show. I don't want to do the whole rant again, but basically, they decided to not sell digital books anymore right before the pandemic. That was a bad decision they made because it's 2021, and I want to buy your book and read it on my device. I don't want to buy your physical book. You don't need to kill a tree to make me happy. I would prefer you not kill that tree. Because they were so, I suspect it's a response to piracy. I don't think they're right in the way that they're handling this, but there is physically no way to get a digital version of a book. There's physically no way to get that is legal. So because of that, they have to print physical books. That takes time, and supply chain worldwide is impacted by COVID. So they made a book based on what was good 6 months ago. Well, 6 months ago, very few tournaments were happening. I actually felt like Hammer Out Cancer was targeted, right? Like they hurt White Scars and like they nerfed the things that did well at Hammer Out Cancer of all things. Like it is a book that is a response to a time that does not exist anymore. And as a result, as we go through the changes, we're going to try to be funny about it because the alternative is we just start being bitter and mean. And nobody wants to listen to us be bitter and mean some people want to listen to us be bitter and mean for the next 2 hours. But we're not going to do that. Okay? We're going to try to be funny about it, sarcastic at times. We're not going to just dump on how bad this book is. There are some things in it I really like. So there are some good nuggets in there. After the points came out, though, I was much more pleased with the FAQs. I thought the FAQs did a pretty good job of addressing a bunch of things that needed addressing, including a nerf of Drukhari that I believe was even-handed. That was exactly the things that needed to change, changing them exactly the way that they needed to change. It was almost to the T what John Lennon and I asked for when we were on the show talking about it. So
I would say
awesome.
that the FAQs also did a great job of showing how pointless the chapter-approved Munitorum manual is.
Yeah.
And these changes can happen for free, on the fly, when they need to happen, and they can rebalance whenever they want to, and committing to a model where you're printing a book that will never address the game that it it is ever published into is an act of futility.
Yeah. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go through the rules. I'm actually gonna use if you guys don't know this, Goonhammer is a neat site that's doing a lot of really hard work. A bunch of their articles are really great. Some of them I don't like, but they're not all for me. So a bunch of their articles are really great. Those guys are doing good work. I'm actually going to use their articles to make sure we don't miss anything. So because I'm doing that, I wanted to just say that, so that we weren't just using their hard work without any credit to them. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with going through the general rules. Now, you guys, if you want to know all of the nuance to what's happening, you can do that. Okay? You can go read the Goonhammer article. You can read all the rules. You can do all of that. So we're not going to just read you the rules. What we're going to say is what changed, if it's obvious why it changed, but more importantly, what does it affect going forward? A lot of these changes seem big. To me, I don't think they're that big of a deal. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is triangles. Our Discord proudly identified that there was an issue with GW's wording that meant that when you came in from Deep Strike and were charging a raider, technically you needed an 8-inch and not a 9-inch charge because of how you're measuring to the hole and literally how triangles work. That was originally found by Tyler Bortel, who is a young man who I believe is trying to get his graduate degree in quantum computing. So maybe the right person to bring up math-based observations. What it caused was the entire internet showing each other pictures of triangles for what do you think, Danny? Weeks?
Yeah, it was great.
The actual nuance of this is that it was obviously never what GW intended and no TO was going to allow it, so I didn't spend any time worrying about this. But, much to my chagrin, GW addressed it and said, no, you did need a 9-inch charge. Hilarious. Good job, Tyler. The story is better than the rule was. No TO was actually going to let you do this, but the story of it, and also every day for weeks going on my Facebook and seeing pictures, people arguing about pictures of triangles was so great. And so many of the schematics were badly drawn too, which also just made me really happy. People drew these curvy lines and I'm like, that's not a triangle. So, anyways.
I definitely love the shout out that GW gave him too on their article, kind of where they mentioned some dubious Pythagorean
I just wanted that was hilarious, but that article itself I think was really important. Them was sort of handling the communication of hey, we did this big jumble of changes of rules. Here's what it means, right? Kind of helping the players who are a little more on the casual side or don't have the time for it understand. I think that's cool. I think they did a good job with that.
The next one is you can't summon your rules away from Goonhammer.
Yeah. And
I also don't think this matters. I think this is also the way that we expected the game to be played.
I'll tell you how little it mattered. I didn't know it was a thing.
Okay, great.
And I think I'm the person who would know.
Yeah.
You're still not summoning anything, so who cares?
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in here about deployment, and I don't think any of it's interesting, personally. Danny, Chuck, Mitch, any of you guys... All of the correction about how all of the pregame steps go, I don't think any of it changes the way I play 40K. Do you guys have any additional thoughts on that? Did you even read it?
I barely understand. No. I barely do it properly in the first place, so changing it really didn't do anything.
Okay. Cool.
Yep. Nothing for me.
Yep. Okay. So the Tome of Malkador change is interesting. They thought that we were presuming that it would allow you to grab a power from a different tree, and it does not. That is actually a ruling ACO made, and so John and I adjusted the Ultramarines list to remove that already. John's first GT win, he used the Tome of Malkador to get a power from another book, to get Scryer's Gaze. It turns out you can't do that. Not a huge...
GW has actually been pretty consistent about this, in the sense of, in other cases where you've been able to snag an extra power, they tend to have FAQs tend to have a specification of it needs to be from the same tree. But so this was an oversight that they just needed to correct.
Right, I agree. They also made it so that the Death Guard ability actually works on difficult ground again, which it never should not have.
Rewriting the rule, right, for difficult terrain.
Yeah,
not by changing Death Guard.
Which is weird because they specifically said no, you don't, and then wait a couple months and be like, okay, you can have it backwards. We're sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing in here on the generals that we have to talk about the most is fight first, fight last. Who wants to take a stab at explaining how this changed?
Oof.
Danny, do you think you got it?
Sure. Yeah.
Give it a
So, basically, if you have a rule that means that you can't activate an eligible, like a unit is not eligible to fight until the end of the phase, if that gets counteracted now with an ability that lets you fight first. So, like, if you charge and somebody uses a fight last power on you, it doesn't mean that you can't. You still aren't eligible to fight until all other enemy units have done so. It now allows you to like fight in regular order. So your opponent, since it's his turn since you've charged, would be able to activate a unit before your unit. And it also, I think, it also allows you to interrupt out of that as well, which is an interesting change. In addition to this, Games Workshop put out an excellent little flow chart of how strikes first and strikes last work, which is awesome because I think that it was like it's important for everybody to understand exactly how the process of this goes now, as opposed to having like a bunch of third-party flow charts that other people have made just for fun, which are pretty complicated and annoying. And I'm glad that they kind of made it like a more generic rare rule than kind of a bunch of different desperately written rules about who can strike first or who gets
almost
strikes
like
last,
a universal special rule keyword
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Well, basically what they've decided is that fight first is the same as charging.
Yes.
So if you charge my understanding is it says if you charge 2 units into witches units, which is very relevant to the meta, you'll get to go first on one of those because everybody counts as charging because everybody has fight first, but you're the active player, so you get to do the first one, but without spending CP, they'll then get to do the second one because you'll then have to take turns with charging. It also says that you can then use but you can use the interrupt stratagem on somebody who's not eligible, which is a massive change to the game.
Yep.
That actually makes not eligible to fight until the end, to me, massively worse, to the point where I probably won't actively I'll put it in a list if it comes naturally, like it does with Drukhari. Other than that, I probably won't care about it because their ability to use 2CP to overcome your not eligible makes the not eligible not worthwhile to me. Like,
it's only really worthwhile now if you have multiple ways to achieve it simultaneously.
but they don't stack, right?
Taking 2 CP away is good too.
It
No,
is.
I'm saying where if you charge it from multiple vectors, they can only have one of them interrupt.
Sure.
And so then it has relevancy again. So if you're playing an army that has, like, say, 3 fight last, which exists, like, then you might have play. And they still have to drain that CP, like Chuck said. Like,
Yeah,
still resource.
I actually don't like this change. I think this change is like making hugging a lot worse. I think it just makes close combat less interesting. I think the strategy of close combat has always been one of the cooler places in the game that people can show that they really understand the game and that they're really practiced and they really get it. I understand that that's bad for the middle table people, but like the ability to just get around not eligible 2CP. I understand it takes CP, but it means you can't plan for it. I can't go in with a way to kill your thing and know it's going to work with the not eligible stuff.
I think it's important to recognize that's only when you have strikes first. So you have to have strikes first and then you can then jump in with the 2CP. If I jump your regular close combat unit that doesn't have strike first, you're stuck till the end.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, it's only the first strike cancels the whole ability, not just the strikes last. Is the difference really?
Okay. So if you have strikes first, you can interrupt, but otherwise you can't. If you're not eligible. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That I'm fine with. I did not understand that, so thank you for explaining that, and
Okay.
I retract my bitterness. I think that's
The
fine.
thing is also really interesting to me is
It's always weird when your bitterness retracts.
Yes. It's going to be a problem
does it
later.
go?
It's gonna make me.
Usually that's only when it's cold.
It makes me
Yeah.
feel a lot like I've eaten at Taco Bell. It's literally what happens.
cold and bitter.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Also, Mark Perry's been running a list for a while now with a brick of Noise Marines, and he hides the Foul Blight spawn in it. So he has a brick of guys who have a lot of attacks with fight first,
Oh.
and then he has a fight last or a coming out past it. you essentially can't get into them anymore. If you charge, they're going to punch you first. I think it's a very interesting scenario.
Yeah, for sure.
For Chaos to have.
That's really good.
So let's move on. The next general rule is just destroying the stupid million attack succubus. Basically, she gets 1 extra attack instead of 2 extra attacks. It makes her fine. If you compare her to the other beat stick characters in Drukhari, she's fine. She's fine. Like, it's just not... Like, yeah, she's still crazy. But all of the beat stick Drukhari characters are crazy. So, none of them are the points that they should be, in my opinion, even with Drazhar's points increase. So, like, they're still cheaper than every other army's beat stick characters. But she's now not as good. I think with that change, we start taking the 10 attacks, mortals on 6s lady instead. Wound everything that isn't a vehicle on 2s. I think we take her instead. But I was already taking her instead because I already liked her better. So, whatever.
There's a few
Colin, I played last night against the one with razor flails, dark venom, dark lotus venom.
Yeah, that's the one that got nerfed. Yeah.
Well, no, but then they gave her competitive edge, and that was super gross because it was 14 attacks. My opponent rolled 6 6s when she charged in and did 12 mortal wounds to me before I got to go.
That is gross. You're right. Super amusing though.
I thought that was a good build.
Yeah. So they changed how remain stationary is ruled, and I don't understand the nuance of this other than how it helps Tau. So I'm going to explain how it helps Tau, and if somebody has a way it helps somebody else, I'd love to know. But basically, what they're saying is that if you fall back and then count as remaining stationary, it means you can shoot, which means that Mon-Ka gives you fall back and shoot, which it did not before.
Isn't this relevant for salamanders?
I don't know. Is it?
Yeah, I think salamanders have a strat for it.
Yeah. They have a strategy for counting as remaining.
Does the Tyranid strat for the Exocrine?
Yeah, the Exocrine. It works for the Exocrine. The salamanders one, though, I don't think works because it says only if you did a normal move or advanced do you count as stationary.
Oh, they changed it. It didn't used to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So right. But the Exocrine one works for sure. Like that lets you just count as being stationary because it doesn't have any mention of what happens in the movement phase.
What's hilarious about this for me is I had a tournament game in 8th where I was playing GSC and Tyranids into Tau, and my opponent, who is someone who is always maybe a little too overeager at interpreting the rules in a way that is wrong to his advantage, he tried to convince me that Mon-Ka allowed him to fall back and shoot. Mm-hmm. And it certainly did not. There was no language to support it in any way, shape, or form. We had to call a TO over. He got super upset about it. He ended up being bitter about it for the rest of the game. Like, it was a ridiculous experience from a rules point of view for me. But now it does that, which is hilarious. Here we are later.
He was from the future.
He was from the future, which just makes me wonder why he didn't play better in that game, because being from the future would have been helpful. So that's the rules for standing still. Objective secured. They basically said no matter how many people are giving you objective secured, if someone turns it off, it's gone. Fine. It hadn't even occurred to me to be a thing, but that's what's up. Let's see. Here's the thing I think is stupid. So let's talk about some stupid for a minute. Ravenwing need to advance to get their better invul. So Ravenwing players say, I drove in a circle and advanced. Now I'm back here again, and I have my invul. And I understand people don't like that. I get it. But GW has said that's not okay. You literally have to move your full movement. How come I can't drive 10 inches forward and drive... Like, why can't I... Like, there's no rule that I can't double back on my movement, so I don't understand how this is even a rule. Like, I don't understand how this even does anything for the game. So if I move...
You have to end up your full distance away from where you were before?
Yeah, does it say that?
So you can't drive around a building?
Right. Do I have to go a straight distance for this to happen? Can I literally drive and end up 3 inches from where I was before? Is that okay? How about 5 inches?
The intent here is to just make it so, like, however far you actually moved is how far you moved. If you need to count the full distance of movement for a movement like a plane or something, then you have to have actually moved that distance.
No, that's triangles again, Mitch. No, we don't want more triangles.
Oh, it's time. Everybody
Yeah,
get
I
out your
mean,
triangles.
It turns
So-
out the quickest way to get GW to fact something is triangles.
Well,
We
this
found
is-
code.
This is dumb because if the answer is you have to measure the true distance they went, that's stupid because they might literally have to drive around a building. Like,
So
there's no way that
I
this
don't
rule
think
makes
this is
sense
the
to me.
way. I don't think this works the way you guys that you think it does. I think this only really
Fantastic.
counts for things that require you to move a certain distance.
Yep.
Okay.
Like, for example, like you can advance and not move if you want to. That's fine. You'll still get the benefit because there's no like defined distance that you have to move.
Okay.
But for things like there's a Ravenwing secondary for Dark Angels where you have to move at least 12 inches to like actually and kill something, and you get victory points based on that. You can't do that anymore without moving.
Okay.
Without
being
actually
12 inches
moving. So
farther
you
than
can't
sure.
like move in a circle. Say, oh, I moved 12 inches.
Yeah, that's
makes
what
a lot
I
more
figured
sense.
this was for. Was for
Okay.
like it felt like a direct addressing of like specifically Dark Angels and a few other rules.
Well, I was wrong, but what I'm saying still is valid, which is,
Oh, yeah.
it's very easy to argue that they didn't go 12 inches if they went around a corner, right? Like,
no, it's
Sure.
Okay, let's just move on though. I thought it was more about the other nuance. There's so many rules here, guys, and that's why
Oh
we're
my
all
God,
doing this
it's a
together.
lot.
Is because we're all going to be wrong about something.
Yep.
So I'm wrong all the time. It's part of the deal. Okay, so that's the general rules. Now let's talk about Xenos because that'll be the easiest one to go through, because Imperium is Imperium. So Xenos. Let's talk about Drukhari. So they raised the Raider 10 points. Wonderful change. The Raider is comically undercosted. I think at 95 points, it still is probably the best transport in the game. If anybody wants to argue. Rhinos are pretty great, but like 95 points for a Raider with a rerollable Dark Lance if it's Blackheart is pretty amazing. So I think that's great. Dark Technomancers is no longer works on liquefiers, which is exactly the heavy-handed change I thought was necessary. The problem with Dark Technomancers previously was the penalty for Dark Technomancers is on the hit roll. So if you auto hit, you don't ever pay the penalty, and you just get the +1 damage, +1 wound, +1 to wound. This did not hit Kronos, which is why I don't like Goonhammer's Dark Technomancers is dead wordage, because it's wrong. Because you know who also has flamers that it works just fine on is Kronos. You know who gets to reroll 1s to wound? Kronos. Like, Kronos are great. Nick Nanavati already had put them in his list for ACO, which is before this fact. I think that people are going to be taking 6 or 9 Kronos in their Drukhari lists. That actually makes me want to play more, because I think the Kronos are kind of neat. So, Dark Technomancers is gone from the thing it needed to be gone from. It is not gone entirely. I think that the Flamers were just dumb. The Liquefiers, they were just dumb. And it was way too cheap to get a unit that just obliterated things. And Chuck, I would point out that this is a massive buff for Sisters.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because now I have a unit that's way too cheap that obliterates things, and you don't.
right, right. So, but I mean, it was 50 points for 2d6.
Yeah, no, it was
dumb.
awful.
So it's gone. They also specified that if you do a 3 patrol, you don't get the 2 CP. They did this through a rules change and not through a Drukhari errata, which was the correct way to do it. Basically, your Warlord does not refund you CP anymore. He makes the CP cost of the detachment free, is my understanding.
Yep.
And so what was the problem before is the Warlord would reward you with 2 CP or whatever, 3 CP or whatever detachment they're in. And so Drukhari also made that patrol 0, so they were starting at 14 rather than 12. I don't think this was actually a big necessary change based on everything else Drukhari was doing. Fine, 2 less CP. Maybe I'll take 1 less beat stick character, and that's the impact.
I think this was not a change made for balance. I think this was a genuine FAQ of like, we did not intend that to work that way.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think it's clarity. I also think it's for future releases.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Red Corsairs do the same thing. And so like stuff like that, those kind of lists that come out in the future it's so much harder to explain. Your patrols are free except for the one that your Warlord's in. That one's going to still be let's just cut all those words.
This is a cleaner change.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Drazar went up in points by 10.
Makes sense?
Still not
Very
expensive
good.
enough.
Drazar is a ridiculous monster. And the
Yes.
fact that I believe that the reason why he's more expensive than everybody else is his durability. His durability is so much better than the rest of the beatstick characters that I've had him just walk in games against Chuck. I've had him be like one of the only models I have left at the end of the game, right, Chuck? Like,
Yeah.
he just wanders around beating on things, and you never get to take care of him.
Well, his durability, while also having the character rule, means that I often, by the time I've cleared out the stuff between me and him, I'm out of juice.
Right.
By the time, right? And then
Yep.
he just gets to go and eliminate something. And
Right. It's also a big change to When We Stand. Is making him more expensive, but he was already the When We Stand target in a lot of lists. So that's probably
I think
fine.
the Chronos are going to change that as well.
Yeah, I think so too.
They make great Will We Stand targets.
Yeah, because they also can bring themselves back, which is also neat for a When We Stand target. And then we talked about competitive edge already. And then the buff is that they made it clear that Tantaluses and Reapers are supposed to have power from pain. I presume they were, but it wasn't on their data sheet, and it is now. That actually makes the Tantalus something we'll probably see. In fact, there was a local RT here yesterday where a Drukhari player, Jeremiah, a friend of ours, he went undefeated with a Tantalus in his list. So that Tantalus does the guns, and Power from Pain makes it a lot more. It does a lot of the guns, and
Can
I
you
believe
still
carries lots of
Hit
people
the,
as well.
the strat for shooting twice on that thing?
I don't think so.
Okay. I know in the old book, not the sisters,
Well, I don't
the
think we
witches
have.
had ability to shoot it twice.
I don't think so. The well, no, because the fight twice, shoot twice strat is only witches, witch units.
Oh, okay.
So then
So
they
limited that.
did that so that the succubus wouldn't have it. And there was an argument in the Discord the other day that the succubus should have it, and it actually made me mad, and I didn't participate in the argument. The idea that we would give this 65-point character that's like one of the biggest beat sticks in the entire game the ability to fight twice for 2 CP, no one needs that. That's not a thing that anybody's asking for, except that person in the Discord. Okay, so Drukhari in general, I think that they are nerfed. I think this is all fine. I do not think that they're bad. I think that they are still
I
one of
think
the three
this
best codexes. I think that it is Admech, Sisters, and Drukhari are the three best codexes in 9th. Drukhari is still there. They may not be the best one anymore. I don't know, but maybe we'll actually have to try other list designs other than just Dark Technomancer liquefiers. So, what were you to say, Mitch?
Well, I was going to say, I think it was really cool to see them not be heavy-handed. We didn't see anywhere the patented GW triple nerf of like we're gonna make Dark Technomancers bad, and we're gonna make the Flamers bad, and we're gonna make Rax bad. Like they didn't. There was nothing like that. The same thing didn't happen to the million attack succubus. Like they this was fairly soft touch. It was these things are clearly not intended this way, or they're just overtuned, and they were and we saw a really nice nerf that didn't make everyone go, oh god, the codex doesn't work anymore. No, just the one broken build doesn't work, and that's what an FAQ should do. Right.
Yeah.
So I was really pleased with that.
Yeah, I think it's great. Danny, comments about Drukhari?
Oh, I just echo exactly what Mitch said. Like, this was the best. This was the best possible timeline for Drukhari nerfs. Like they did this. This was perfect. It's exactly what they need to do.
And
I feel like they got rid of the feel bad.
Yeah.
Rooting the army.
Yep. And I've thought about it a lot over the past few days. I think if we were... So I don't know what to play, and the Ultramarines are going to bore me pretty quick. I think we all know that. I don't know what to play. I just don't. And I think that if I let my friends decide, I think if I said... I got Mitch and Chuck and Danny and John Lennon together, and I had them do a group conversation about what I should be building, I think...
Like an intervention?
Yeah, I think everybody would steer me back towards Drukhari now, because the reason I wasn't going to do them, this is dumb, but I'm going to share it because we're in a safe place. I don't like playing an army that everybody else is playing. It feels bad to me. I don't like going to a tournament and being one of 10 Drukhari players out of 50 people. I don't care for that. I think this and all the new books will lessen how many Drukhari players there are, and the fact that the obviously powerful stuff has been brought back some means I can make a list that's a little bit more nuanced, and I can maybe play a more intellectual game, which is what I want. So maybe it's time for Colin to go back to Drukhari. We're going to do some test games with it on stream, and I'm going to see how much I like how it plays post-nerf before I make that decision. I'm going to play it into Sisters, I'm going to play it into Admech, so that'll be a project I'll have coming up.
I wanna hit on what you said there, Colin, because I don't think it's embarrassing or that you need like at all that this game is the whole point of any war game is an interesting problem for you, right? Like that's every tabletop war game. And if playing a super common army it affects that fun for you, that's just you knowing the type of fun you want to have. And I think that it's not shocking at all you don't like to play the most popular army because you hate mirror matches.
I do.
Right? You hate mirror matches.
I do.
So it makes perfect logical sense that you do not want to play the most on meta army.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's important that people are honest with themselves about like, hey, I'm just not having fun with the army I'm playing right now. Okay, cool. That's perfectly reasonable. What about it isn't making it unfun? And you've identified that, which is really useful for you figuring out your path forward to have fun with your hobby.
Yeah, and I think the second part, which is also valuable, is that if Admech and Drukhari are the two best things in the game and Sisters is the other one, everyone's going to build to kill light vehicles and T3, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and I understand that Admech need a different response than Drukhari do, and I don't know what response Sisters need yet. But if we're in a meta where everyone's building to build a particular type of army, it is not strategically smart for me to play that army. Right?
Sounds like Colin's playing Knights now.
Oh, Jesus, no. That's like the Tesseract Vault tournament all over again. We're not doing that.
Yeah, I know.
But the reality is the Ultramarines list performs as well as it does because it beats the things that are trying to beat Drukhari. Like that's why the Ultramarines list is doing well. So, so there's a lot here. There's a lot to unpack. We don't have time for all this today, but I think it's helpful for us to be open about like I go to a GT to win. Like I if I go 4-1, fine, but 3-2 is unacceptable. Like I play things to win tournaments. That's how I am, and so there's a lot of thought that goes into what I take to a particular tournament. Okay, shall we continue?
Sure.
All right. Harlequins. Player of Twilight finally works the way that Colin thought it worked and has been playing it for all of 9th edition. Excellent.
So that's convenient.
Yeah. Basically, it works the way you expect it to. I didn't know that it didn't. Chuck helped me with the Silent King may use Zazachuran, dynastic stratagem. What is that and why was he not allowed to use it before?
I don't know.
Excellent.
In fact, I think I have had him use it before.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
I used it all the time. I just assumed it worked this way. I'm glad it got fact.
Okay. Excellent.
Just a quick check in my head, like, how many times did I cheat with that?
Yeah.
Cheater admission episode with all the rules we played wrong.
And then we'll do points in just a second. Tau got a lot of points reductions. Tyranids got point reductions. Tyranid's big change is that Exocrines can leave combat and still fire. That's the thing we already talked about.
I think Riptide's points changes are probably the most significant.
Yes. This is too much. What if it was 1 point less? Oh, then it'd be good. Oh, okay.
Thank God.
Man, talk about being able to so finely tune your game that you can just adjust a monstrous creature-sized model with like 4 guns on it by a point.
I also hate that anyone needed errata on whether or not you can advance when you quicken. Come on, guys. You've always been able to advance when you quicken. Come on.
But
okay.
they changed the rules for advancing.
Yeah. Craft Old Eldar. Here are all the points reductions. Avatar of Cain dropped 35 points to 200. Fire Dragons went down 3, Wraithblades down 3, Wraithguard down 3, Dark Reapers down 3, Fire Prism down 15, Night Spinner down 10. Wow. Boy, is that a lot of points reductions, Colin. It must be that Craft Old Eldar is here to shine, right? No. This book is one of the most dated rule sets we have now. The main tricks that this book does have all been nerfed into oblivion. They're gone. This book was good when it originally came out, like we were talking about earlier, because of stacking -1 to hit, which it can't do. It does not have durable OBSEC of any kind. It does not have board control of any kind. It does not have points efficient, good close combat like everybody else does. It pays comical amounts of points for things. They're trying to get me excited here about a Wraithblade for 37 points when a Blade Guard is 35. Screw yourselves. Like, seriously. Come on. Like, there's no world where a Wraithblade is better than a Blade Guard. Like, the points are just not And like Wraith Guard are cheaper points than Wraith Blades. It shows that they don't understand the difference between those two units. Like, there's a lot here that's just wrong. I do think it's funny that everything that Sean Naden plays with went down in points. I don't know what sort of magic spell Sean Naden cast, but he plays Drukhari with Craft-Rolled Eldar, and the Craft-Rolled Eldar stuff he plays with is Dark Reapers, Night Spinners, and sometimes the Avatar of Cain, which are the things that went down. I don't understand how you do that, Sean Naden. That's amazing.
Look, Sean Naden can do just about anything.
Yeah.
So
that's like, I don't know like what sort of 4D chess Sean Naden's playing here, but that's pretty great.
He can do a lot of things except play through turn 5.
Oh. So I spent a bunch of time with these points, and I did try to come up with a Craft-Rolled Eldar list to take to the team tournament. The problem is that I can make a list that beats everybody who doesn't have a 9th edition codex. But this is nowhere near what's needed for Craft-Rolled Eldar to hang with Drukhari, which is just a better book than them, Sisters, which is just a better book than them, and Admech, which is a durable gun line in a way that Eldar can't even think about. Like, Eldar needs to be a durable gun line with the rules that they have right now, with maybe Shining Spears, maybe 3x5 Shining Spears running around the table doing stuff. Like, that's how Craft-Rolled Eldar needs to be played, and Admech laugh at that because they're just that but better.
Oh, that Guardian Shuriken is real cute. How about I have 80 Strength 5, AP 1 shots hitting on 2s?
Yeah, it's ridiculous to think that this book could even remotely hang. So, sorry, Craft-Rolled Eldar, it's not enough.
Well, it's really sorry 8th Ed codexes. Like, that Gulf is present in every one of them now. It's just the way it is.
Now, they are releasing books quickly at this exact moment, and if we keep at a quick pace, everything's going to be fine. If we keep at the pace, like, obviously we can't have a codex every week like they're doing right now, but we need to have 2 and sometimes 3 codexes a month to get this game to a state that it needs to be in any sort of speed. Because there's a still, I would say 80% of the game still doesn't have a book, if not higher, right? Like, it's most of the books still aren't out.
Marine, you have the Marine book, right? So that's half the armies right there.
Yeah, right? That's half the players, Mitch, is maybe the funnier joke, right?
Well, it's still actually probably half the armies as well with all the
it's
elements and
it's a lot.
Also for Xenos, we talked about Drukhari. Genestealer Colt, Pure Strain Genestealer is down 2 points a model. They are hot trash. Don't get distracted by that. The fact that they don't get the traits is so dumb. Whatever. Jackals went down 2 points a model. That makes them pretty cheap for their durability. If you are for some reason required to play GSC right now, I would play with some bikes.
Alex McDougall, this is for you.
Yeah, well, the way Tyler and him are playing GSC is they're using them for hand flamer units that can drop in and do things, and I think that's great.
It's basically what that codex is at this point.
Yeah, that codex is also super dated. One of the lowest win rate codexes in the game. The Goonhammer article does say aberrants are still paying for their transgressions of 2 years ago. I think that's hilarious. They're like
some time in
they're in the penalty box forever is basically what's happening.
Actually, they were allowed to come out. They just weren't smart enough to figure out how to get out. They're just stuck there.
Like a fresh trap.
Yeah.
Harlequins, the Solitaire went down 2 points. Okay, sure, why not? Necron's got a bunch of points changes. Chuck, do you have hot takes on this, or have you not been paying attention to our Necron overlords?
I paid attention at all.
Okay.
Danny?
Catacomb
You
Command.
like the shiny boys?
Oh,
Any
Danny
thoughts
plays
on Necron?
Necrons. Danny can talk to us about this.
Yeah, so it's like they're interesting, I guess. Like none of these are going to burn up the world or anything.
Let me just read them. Let me read them, Danny, so they know what we're talking about.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Command Barge up 10. Chronomancer's Lance up 10. Tesla Carbines are now free on Immortals, which is 2 point down. Doomsday Arcs went down 20, which is huge. Locust Destroyers are down 5. Locust Destroyer Weapon is down 5, and Locust Heavy Destroyers are down 10. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so I think the Chronomancer should have gone up. That weapon is just clearly better than the other version of it. The Entropic Lance is like it's a lance. It's like a dark lance.
To be fair, I don't think I've ever hit and wounded with it, so I'm certainly not paying for that lance.
Fair. I think I killed John's Tallyman with it one time, and I was very proud of it.
Oh, that's valuable.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
The Tesla Carbines is nice. They should have always been free on Immortals, because like they're just as good as the
Goths. The Immortals went down themselves as well, right? So it's kind of like
No,
No,
the
the
immortals
Immortals-
stayed the same.
Yeah.
Oh, is it just the carbines that went down? Okay.
Just the
Yeah, they
Yeah, the
teased
carbines
it as
used
one
to
of the
cost
biggest
most points.
changes in the book, and it turns out no points changed.
Yeah.
Something just became free.
All right. This is taking a long time.
Doomsday Arc going down 20. Oh, sorry, Colin.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. Doomsday Arc going
I was
to
gonna
20.
say,
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, 20 points is a lot,
Yep.
but it's still a slot machine. I think that. Yeah.
I
when
killed
you're-
things.
Yeah.
Oh, I
No,
didn't
that's
kill
nothing.
things.
It's like a
Oh,
slot
one
machine. You very
shot.
rarely win.
The heavy destroyers is probably the most interesting thing to me because I think they definitely have a lot more play now. They if 3 of them for 180 points is
Awesome.
probably viable. I think they have pretty good firepower, especially with damage 3d3 on the big shotgun.
I
So-
like 3 one-offs is good too.
Yeah, and that's
Like-
fine too.
This is actually only makes the way that Michael Tempe's playing Necrons. It only makes it better.
Yeah,
These
I agree.
changes. So, and Sigler's take was that Necrons have all of this is a take from a month ago or 2 months ago. His take was that Necrons have all the rules that they need. They just need to be cheaper. I don't know if I agree with that with how good the new books are coming out, but also maybe they'll get a campaign rule set. Right? We got these campaign books coming out that are buffing people as well. The Cult of Strife one is a big improvement to Drakari. So like, and I know that some people are talking about Metallica still from the Admech one. So like, those campaign books are relevant, and if Necrons get a good one of those, they could take their spot as a competitive army. I personally think that Necrons are in a really bad spot, even with these points reductions, but we'll see over time.
I actually think they're probably picking up steam right this second, and people don't know it. MSU is way weaker versus Warriors.
True.
And the game is moving really heavily into MSU.
Yep.
Like nobody's bringing anything that kills a full 20 Warriors in one whack at this point.
Right.
So I think that's a sort of weird special buff that's just happening because the meta shifts.
Yep.
Yeah, even Admech with all their firepower is going to do chip damage, and that doesn't work against Necrons very well.
Yep.
Just because it gives them the chance to reanimate. And I think like the Tesla carbines is really good, especially going into a meta where we're seeing a lot of orcs and sisters. Like
Yep.
those
There's
immortals
play in there,
Yeah, for sure.
and the vehicle heavy list is very strong. Like
It's
that's
good.
just playable. So
It's good. Yeah.
Yep.
there's space.
Okay, so Orcs have a new book coming out, so they didn't get many changes, which makes sense. But they did want to make sure that Deathcopter rockets went up 15 points to 25, Chuck. They said,
Yeah,
a
it's
new
good.
book's coming, but hold on, there's one thing that's so broken.
Well, it was ruining the game,
Was it?
so they fixed it. No, not
Okay.
at all.
All right. Okay, so that's our Xenos takes. Now let's talk about the army that no one wants to be good, or at least not GW. Chaos. Well, that's not wrong, is it, Danny?
Dark Angels are solid.
No, it made me laugh.
Well, look what they did to Dark Angels.
It's true. They did nerf them like they're chaos.
So, Chuck, in this Goonhammer article list of the changes to Chaos, what actually matters? Would you like to walk us through some of these things?
I've got 3 things that I think
Okay.
hit the Legion in a way that matters. In any Legion, probably the smallest one is that Cultist went back to a 5-point piece. This I think puts Cultist blobs back on the menu. Like you could see a 30 here and there, that kind of thing, and that's a useful tool because some people just can't efficiently kill a blob of 30 things. It costs you basically nothing to bring them. So in some games you'll push it forward, it'll be hard. Other games it just like goes across your backfield or whatever, it's fine. The other 2 are far more interesting. First up, Warp Time, but also all of the Heretic Astartes powers, Prescience being notable, are now Legion locked. The first thing this does that everybody notices is you're not warp priming Mortarion at all anymore. But it also locks up things like you're not just going to grab Thousand Suns to have Aramon cast better warp times on your Legion guys. You have to have that sorcerer in your group doing it for you.
It's such a
Same with
nerf to
Prescience.
bad armies. It's such a nerf.
Well, like I said, they were out of control. We had to do something.
It's such a nerf. If you were losing to Warp Time Morty, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, I think Warp Time Morty was the only reason to do this.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of like additional things. It's just like, oh, but now I'm super sad because this other thing didn't work.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that happened is the drop pods, the Dreadclaw, and then its very much larger brother. We got quick release handles, so the turn you land, you can get out of the drop pod. as opposed
So-
to you had to land at the drop pod and then wait and then get out of the drop pod.
So you know what I imagine this to be, is you know how on cars when you open the door on the side of profile of the door, there's that little switch for a child lock, so you can't open it from the inside. I feel like for all of the editions, Chaos Space Marines have had drop pods. They've had the child locks on, and finally one tech priest was just like, I wonder what this switch does.
Yeah.
And
He's unlocked the great tech. But that's huge.
they found an STC to undo the
The
child
Mark
lock.
I Charybdis was notorious for having the child locks go on.
Well,
Well,
it makes sense when it's world
anytime you
eaters,
put
they keep
berserkers in a
opening
vehicle,
it halfway down.
Yeah.
Is this like how
You want
Bulgren
the
didn't want to go in
outside.
the? Is this like how Bulgren didn't want to go in
That's
Chimeras
right. You
because
do
they were
not
afraid of the
want them
dark?
getting out, Chuck.
no, that's just, they will jump out in the atmosphere. It's not good. But that's fixed now, and I think that you put 10 noise marines in one of those, or like a squad of havocs with chain guns. That's a lot of firepower that you can choose to deploy turns 1, 2, or 3. Pop it down, pop your veterans, pop your fire twice.
It really does add a lot of toolbox.
Yeah.
The drop pod coming down turn 1 thing is something that is totally overlooked most of the time.
Yeah.
Mainly because Marines are so segregated that you can't put in cool stuff into drop pods because that's all Primaris or something different. Chaos Space Marines aren't necessarily dealing with that issue, and they have access. So their access to drop pods is going to benefit them a lot more than I think it would for vanilla Marines.
Chuck, what Mitch just said is that they're not being drugged down by that Primaris line that
Yeah,
just made
all those
Marines
horrible
so much
20-point
better.
No, I'm saying drop pods aren't good because they didn't
No.
get included in
No,
them.
Mitch,
Yeah.
yes, I was adding a joke to what you said.
Ah,
But I do think there's actually space. Like, it's enough to make them competitive with their 8 dead codexes if you bring some drop pods and some chain guns or
Okay.
that sort of thing. So I think there's some space to be like, we're almost as cool as the not cool kids.
Well, let me ask you the
So-
thing that I wondered about. Is 20-point drops on Venom Crawlers enough?
Yes. I actually played them last week. They dropped them and I grabbed them and ran them out there. I think they'd be a fine choice. Like if I'm trying to talk through a list and I'm drop podding chain gun havocs in, I maybe want a spearhead so that I can have 3 of those guys running around doing odd jobs. They're like a great skirmisher. They move pretty fast. They shoot super far. They hit medium hard with that shooting, but they also heal 1 a turn, and they heal 1 from killing. So if they're out there skirmishing and they get in a bit of a fight, they can get that back and re-engage at full health later. They're like a sort of a cheap dreadnought at this point.
So I would like to I don't think GW listens to the show, but on the off chance that they do, if you're at GW, I'd like you to hear something. I make fun of Chaos a lot. I would like Chaos to be good. That's why I'm making fun of them. They have really great models and a massive model line, and a lot of my friends that play them take them very seriously. They like them very much. You don't appear to know how to write their rules. I'm sorry, you just don't appear to. I understand. You've dug yourself a hole. I get it. It's a deep hole though, and you're really far down in it now. And we're coming by, and we're offering, hey, you can redo the whole thing. You're going to write a CSM book. You're going to write a Demons book. You can redo all of this. You can rewrite this army, this mega faction, to be good. You can do it. We have faith in you. You made a really good AdMech book. It's too powerful, but you made a really good one. You made a really good Sisters book, and you made a really good several other books that are too powerful. Let them be too powerful. Let them be too powerful for a while.
It's their time.
It's fine. They were good in 8th only when they were allowed to have an unlimited number of undercosted smiting characters. And then they were good later because the ITC mission set wasn't written correctly to stop Plague Bearer spam. You guys haven't made them good. You broke them a couple times accidentally. Go make them good. Everybody wants them to be. No, maybe not everybody.
Well,
That's
if they're
my
anything
thing.
like, particularly for the CSM, if they're anything like just the Space Marine Codex coming out, but
Chaosy? Evil, yeah.
just that same level. It doesn't have to be like hard hitting. Oh my God, this is so broken. But if the flexibility with Marines, right? Like Marines have come out at the beginning of this, and they were one thing, and every time the meta changes, they're able to shift into the next thing. If that's what my Chaos Space Marines can be, I would be quite happy.
And just Elite Warp Time.
It can be there.
No,
fix it so that it's not like the focus of the army.
Yeah.
It can't be warp time and charge. That's too much. I think warp time and shoot is maybe okay. Maybe even just this is a thing you can do to get across the board, or maybe
Yeah.
it just lets me pick up and I'll deep strike next turn. Right? Like
There
it
you
could
go.
be so many different things.
right, but they can't make something as broken as it is right now and then try to balance an entire rule set around it, because that's what's causing them problems.
Yeah.
Okay, are we good on chaos?
No, but maybe someday soon.
Okay. Fair enough. Danny, any chaos hot takes before we move on?
No, not really.
Okay, great. That's wonderful. Okay. So we did Xenos, right? And we did Chaos. Imperium, I guess?
Sure.
Okay. And
Do that?
If we have to.
You've got Mitch's attention, I can see.
Yeah, that's why I'm clipping. So the very first set of prints I tried out, I did not realize that you need to remove all of the supports before you cure them. It's a very hard process to do after the fact, and so I'm trying to salvage some stuff.
okay.
So I've been clipping, but so Custodes, we saw some drops there. We saw 5 points on Wardens. We saw the Venerable Land Raider, come down to 280.
Oh, yeah, I
Not-
forgot that.
Yeah, the only faction that cares about the Land Raider dropping in points is Grey Knights, and that's because they can make it shoot through walls.
And
No
teleport.
one else cares. So we saw the Caladius drop 20 points. We could see that become a thing in the meta again. It's not bad. It's going to be interesting to see what Custodes players kind of do right now.
What about the
because other
Telemon,
thing-
Mitch?
Yeah, the other thing is the Telemon went up 20 points. So, yeah, I mean the thing that the avatar of the Custodes at this point, but and something we've seen some reasonable success with, got punched down a little bit. Moving on to Imperial Guard, we've got Ogryns coming down 5 points, which does nothing. They're still garbage.
But not
the
Bulgrin,
problem-
just so we're clear. Only Ogryns.
Only Ogryns. If Bulgrin dropped 5 points, that might be a thing. But Ogryns are just garbage, and it has to do with their stats more than anything else. They just don't do enough of anything. Bane Blades and all the variants seem to have gone down about 40 points. That's nice. There are some cool things you can do with, I think it's the Doomhammer, which has a shooting platform, and the Stormlord, which has a shooting platform, because any buffs you apply to the transport apply to the guys inside.
For reasons.
So, yeah. So you can make your super heavy tank hit on 3s and everything inside hit on 3s or 2s if they're Militarum Tempestus. So there's some cool stuff there, but until they get an invo or some way to actually
Yeah, I was going to
survive-
say, do they have an invul? Because without an invul, they're pretty toast right now.
Yep, pretty much. Moving on from there, Death Riders went up 5 points because the one good thing.
No, they went
Guard
up 10,
had
right?
going on.
15 to
No.
25?
No. They went to 20 points each.
Oh, okay.
Death Riders. I mean, that's what I'm seeing here, and that's what I had seen before.
Weird. I thought it was 10. I thought they went up 10. Okay.
Yep. No, and then the Death Rider Command Squadron went up 25 points.
Oh, okay.
Which sucks because that was actually my preferred one to take. They're a little bit better in combat, and at 60 points they were just amazing. But they're still useful, but it's just not guard aren't they have no way to compete in a game right now where there is more efficient shooting and more efficient horde shooting than them.
Well, AdMech's just them are only better, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is they're better, and you really can get kind of the same volume of units out of AdMech, and they all just have better ballistic skill, better combat, better everything.
So
and buffs
armor.
go with it.
I just wanted to say, like, the Rough Rider change is because people got butthurt when they first came out that they were undercosted for their durability, and it never hit a tournament winning list that I'm aware of.
Nope.
Like, they probably did win some tournaments, but like it just wasn't a big deal. And things like Plasma Inceptors that were so popular at that time just picked them up, just killed them all. So like this is just bad. This is just bad rules writing. Guard is not okay. They're not bad compared to the other 8th Ed codexes. They're probably one of the best 8th Ed codexes, but they're not going to compete with the 9th Ed stuff. And to have GW 6 months ago go, let's just make Baneblades cheaper and Rough Riders more expensive. It's like, no, that doesn't do anything. Like, no, that's not enough. So I'm actually frustrated with this one because while GSC getting ignored and being bad. Oh, we didn't talk about the Tyranids point changes. We'll talk about that in a minute. Tyranids and GSC are bad, and they got minimal points increases, and I'm mad about that too. But like, Guard got almost nothing, and they're in the same boat that GSC and Tyranids are in. So.
Yep. So, Grey Knights are getting a new codex, so all the points that we're seeing are not for the current codex. They put out a PDF, but we can look at those points and see. It looks like chances are they are getting the extra wound. We're seeing that, that same kind of increase that we'd expect.
Yeah.
Imperial Knights unchanged, like just nothing.
Not even raising the points on like the Megara or the other Broken Forge World stuff. I was very surprised by that. Moiraxes could have gone up. Okay.
Yeah. So Marines got a ton of changes. All of them pretty.
Be that one that I care the most about. Just tell me about that.
The Chief Apothecary went up 20 points.
Yep.
Yeah. Now he's totally fair.
Jump packs on Vanguard vets now cost 3 points each. So that's a 1-point bump. That is not the case for the Space Wolf Guard veterans. So that's it. Space Wolves got better when only compared to a codex that is better than them.
Lightning Claws also went up a point, so you gained.
Yep. And Storm Shields. So.
Oh, sorry, Storm Shields,
unchanged.
Not Lightning Claws. Sorry, I said the wrong thing.
Yeah.
The important thing is here is Vanguard vets went up 2 points a model. That's the important point. The Vanguard vet with Storm Shield and Lightning Claw went up 2 points a model.
Unless they're Space Wolves.
Right.
Then we have attack bikes going up 5 points.
Yep.
That's really going to hurt Dark Angels lists and any list that was spamming them for those multi-meltas.
Yep.
We also have the weapons on the attack bike for bike squads went up 5 points. So they also they caught that. That's not an easy cheeky way to sneak in an attack bike.
Uh-huh.
We got Inceptors dropped 5 points overall, but the Plasma went up 5 points. And this is a great correction since the Heavy Bolter guys never saw any sort of real play and kept getting nerfed along with the Plasma Inceptor.
Right.
So that's cool.
I thought the Plasma went up more than the drop. You're saying the Plasma?
They did.
Okay.
They did. It's a total of a 5-point gain for the Plasma version, but to play the Heavy Bolter version, it's only 40 points a model now.
Right. So
it was a two-part swing.
Yeah, and that's a neat thing for Deathwatch, who makes good work out of the bolters. So,
yep.
And I think Deathwatch has got a lot of play. I've been reading about them a lot the past few weeks, so I think that could be something for them to look at. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Storm it's just really complicated to play those guys. Right?
Yeah, really complicated. I agree.
Storm Speeders went down 15 points. So
that's not the Land Speeder Storm. Just so everybody's clear.
To be clear.
Yeah,
it's their new one.
Shooty platform, right?
Yes, and it's not enough.
No. Eliminators are down 5 points, which makes them more interesting, especially with AdMech being so character buff reliant. I think that's something we'll see more of. I think sniping characters, all the new codexes have characters you want to take, and that really offer more complex problems, whether it's the Death Guard with like the Tallyman or different things like that, or obviously Harlequins and Dark Eldar have lots of characters that are really scary that if you can pick off, I think snipers are going to be a little bit more common in the meta.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I think eliminators are going to be weird because if they poke out to kill an AdMech character, they better kill him. Because after that, they are just going to be obliterated. Because you don't get to... Eliminators do not get to stand out in the open and shoot at someone against AdMech. That's not going to go well for them.
Yeah, no.
No, but if they're in cover, they there's some options for them. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they can and cannot do. They dropped the Gladiators, that chassis in general, the Hover Predator, by 20 points each. Same with Land Raiders and Repulsors. We're starting to see the correction for the fact that vehicles can't get all the buffs because they don't have the core keyword.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, all in all, I think Marines have such a deep codex. This is just going to change their composition. I don't think there's anything here that is breaking the game. A few things that were over the top were brought in line for feel bads, just to make them a little bit more expensive. But Marines are fine.
Let me talk a little bit about the armies that I play. And Danny, I know one of these you've played a lot of, so I'd like to get your takes for sure. For White Scars, this is a little bit rough, just because you gained the Apothecary was a really important part of how White Scars played at his new point cost. I don't. If you're playing with Plasma Inceptors, I think you need him. If you don't have Plasma Inceptors, I think that you don't take him, because you'd have to bring back 4 Blade Guard to get his points cost back. I'd rather just take 4 more Blade Guard. That's just how I am. I think that Blade Guard are still good and still going to be in White Scar lists, so that makes sense. Plasma Inceptors going up hurts most of the White Scar lists out there. Vanguard Vets going up hurts all of the White Scar lists out there. Vanguard Vets, I think you take exactly the same number you've always taken. I don't think that their point increase makes them bad at all, and they're so good into AdMech that you'd be silly to think that it's not their time. In fact, I accept a 2-point increase per model because of AdMech. A 10-man unit of White Scars Vanguard Vets in Assault Doctrine for 2 CP obliterates one of those 20-man units that has +1 armor save against things that are damage 1 and +1 armor save because it's the first turn and ignore AP 1 and 2. Like, it just obliterates that unit because it goes to 2 damage and AP 3. So that's going to be a big deal. Now, that's a 280-point unit or whatever that's then going to die. Because,
and it's wiping out 170 or 100.
Yes, because AdMech is dumb, but it's still a tool that works. So White Scars became more expensive, and they're already having a little bit of a problem because the Ultramarines is really really hard for them. So that's a thing. And then Dark Angels, I think, really took it in the teeth, Danny.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So the Chief Apothecary went up. That's bad for them. They have to have that. The Talon Master went up. They have to have that. And
Attack Bikes went up.
Attack Bikes went up, and they play those. So like my list went up over 100 points. How about yours?
95 points for my list.
Yeah. So talk about. Normally people hear, well, that's not that big of a deal. I'd like you to talk about what 95 points would mean for your Dark Angels list.
It basically makes it unplayable, or not unplayable, but like it's not the same list that it was. Like it's going to be extremely difficult because that list is so
tight,
tuned, and honed and lean. Like there's not any like fluff that I can really remove out of it. So I would really honestly have to take it back to the drawing board. If I were going to remove something from the list, I guess I would. God, and I hate to even think about this. I guess I would like drop a Terminator or something like that. I don't know. I don't even know if the list is still super viable, just because of the changes to While We Stand We Fight. Like that was that's a big nerf to the army anyway. I don't know. I'd have to really, really like buckle down and like figure out where I would go from here.
Yeah, I think
it's tough.
This is a mess for Dark Angels.
Yeah.
And I'm a little unhappy about it because Dark Angels have been bad for a long time, and they finally got a good book. And their good book was actually already countered. I don't think they needed nerfs.
The amount of MSU out there, like we play games with the sisters and the Dark Angels, and it was very easy for me to play you. You were invincible, but I could be on the board, I could take places, and I could kill off the things around it. So like, they felt fine.
And if I had 100 less points, Chuck, I wouldn't have had servitors, and I wouldn't have had one of the command squads.
Oh, it's just more squads that I don't have to bother killing before I'm outplaying you on the mission.
Right. It means that I can't hold the board and I can't do actions. It's just all terrible. And the reality is, Seal of Oath counters that army, and Ultramarines are going to get popular now after Ultramarines won 3 GTs on 3 consecutive weekends. They have emerged from the brainchild of John Lennon and other people to be what I believe is the best Marine list right now. And there's going to be other Marine lists that are going to pass it, but for this exact moment in the meta, it's the best one. It's going to be really common. They take Seal of Oath, they point it at your Terminators die on the first turn, and your army collapses. Drukhari can just charge multiple things into the Terminators and kill them all. There's other gun lines that also can just pick up those Terminators. So like AdMech doesn't care about that Dark Angels list at all. I think it's dead if you want to win a tournament with it. I think that Dark Angels have been killed by GW. I'm sad about it, but that's my take. Someone's going to have to come up with a very different list. The Storm Speeder's going down, Mitch. People have said maybe Ravenwing makes them cool, because then they
I
get
think
invols.
Ravenwing it has some options. It gives them access to invols and speed and durability, so they can start playing a very different game. So all of a sudden, your Dark Angels list needs to not be a castle. It needs to be a lot of independent Ravenwing units, probably with a Talon Master zipping around with them, being unshootable more or less, so that they can really leverage that 4-up invo and obsec.
And I will say that
A
Ravenwing
lot
is
of
the reason that
blocking.
I bought Dark Angels in the first place. And if that list was good, I would already be building it, and I have bought 0 of the models. Like, I don't believe for a second that that's a competitive thing, but it could be. I could be
Yeah,
wrong.
it's going to take a complete retooling of the you're going to have to make an entirely different toolbox of Dark Angel stuff to make that work. And so I don't think we'll see an emerged list for that for a while.
Yeah,
I
I
think
if
I'm going to
if
have
ever.
to go back to Dreads. I think that's kind of the way, like, that's
Well,
what I
yeah.
was playing before.
that's what
And
everybody's doing in the Marines.
I mean, right, yeah. So,
I wasn't trying to stop you from talking, Danny. Go ahead. I'm
no,
sorry.
no, I was going to say Dreadnoughts. I think is like the way forward. Like, I think that's really I feel like that's kind of what you're going to have to build Dark Angels to now. I feel like
Yeah.
they've got some good combinations there. You can give them a 5-up, feel no pain against mortal wounds. You can give them the Talon Masters really help them out. Like, you can get a lot of DACA on the table with them. Damage 4 plasma is nice too.
I would comment that this is another good example of the community overreacting and GW listening and responding to it. The Dark Angels were perceived as this completely unbeatable S-tier monster. They never won things. I think that they were really bad for the average player because they couldn't figure out how to deal with it. But if you knew how to play the mission, or you had a list that can just blow them off the table, which now exists in multiple forms, they were very easy to beat. They were not maybe not very easy to beat, but they were totally beatable. They were not so broken that they needed to receive the heaviest, largest hammer hit of all of the nerfs.
So
Like
I would also point out though that's part of the reason I think that we haven't seen a lot of big swings and changes in this book is because of the delays in the release schedule. All of these other books who have probably been play tested against each other, and GW may have more confidence in their internal balance between the new 9th edition books. Like they may want to be taking a light hand on things just because they felt like, well, we have all these things coming out and none of them have come out, and we need to see the data there first.
Yeah.
That I don't think that changes that not helping armies that clearly aren't getting a codex anytime soon. That's just a swing and a miss for them. But it is part of what I think we're seeing is they're being very hesitant to tinker with things because all of their data is from such an abnormal time. Now, you can argue that we have enough tournaments, we have enough events, we have that feedback now, but that doesn't mean that they're comfortable with it yet.
Right. And as someone's commenting right now, GW doesn't balance just for the top tables. So I understand that, right? Like, I understand that this was a feel bad and it needed to be addressed. What happened is they nuked it from orbit, and I think that was unnecessary.
It was the only way to be sure.
Right, exactly. That's funny, Mitch. Someone's saying why we didn't talk about Death Guard. We did. Morty can't be warp timed. What other relevant change happened to Death Guard?
Exonerable Advance, which we talked about.
Which we also talked about, yeah. The Death Guard thing is that they are worse Dark Angels, and everything that's bad for Dark
I don't know if
Angels.
they are anymore.
Well, yeah, they may not be anymore, but the point is, so Noah is one of our local meta's better Death Guard players, and he brought them over to play against the Ultramarines, and we played 2 turns of the game, and he was done. The reality is that Death Guard is supposed to be durable and slow and hold the table, and there are so many armies in the game that just laugh at them as they shoot them off the table right now. They are another badly written Chaos Rule set, is my take on Death Guard. And I think it's worse now. I think it's worse now, Chuck, than it was even 2 weeks ago.
Maybe. I'm hoping for the fusion of chaos to be the solution.
Yeah, super.
Right? When they start to bring in some other tools, and Death Guard brings something to that table.
Right.
Personally, that's how I like chaos to be. So that's obviously going to taint my opinion, but also I think that's how it should feel. Like a bunch of different desperate warbands coming together to pull off some hijinks.
Right.
It's good.
Okay. By the way, the Lord of Change went up in points. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
Thank God, I hate that guy.
Moving over to Space Wolves, Wolfen went down to 22 points a model, still trash.
They're not trash. They're lists that are literally winning tournaments.
I mean,
They're just not. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Like there's just like the Dreadnought army that everyone's playing.
Oh, the Dreadnought army is
But what people are doing is they're taking Dreadnoughts and putting them with Wolfen, and it is absolutely giving Space Wolf players wins. So they might not be as good as everyone else, but I think trash might be too harsh for the Wolfen that are literally in lists that are doing well right now.
I don't know, maybe, but they're the only thing that got some love other than the Stormfang and Stormwolf gunships, which are now down to 280 points, which they have been before and still weren't used. So
Right.
cool.
That is so many points.
God, that's a lot.
Yeah.
What does it do?
Yeah.
No one knows actually.
Isn't that less than more than a Land Raider now?
It's the same
That's
price
the
as a
same.
barb. It's the same price as a barbed hybrid roll.
yeah.
So it must be.
And-
So it
and
must
it's
be
like, cool,
T8
you have
18
4
points with a 2 up save.
shots, 3 or 2 las cannon shots, and then your frost cannon shot.
Retributors are 140 points.
Yeah.
Like-
Oh yeah.
It's more guns than that.
And Deathwatch really didn't see any changes as well.
What about Blood Angels? I've heard that they got hit hard in the fact, but I don't.
Dante went down to 165.
Fine.
Sanguinary Ancients went down to 110. They dropped 15, and Sanguinary Guard went up 2 points. So I think the 2 point, is probably what they're talking about. If you're taking a Sanguinary Ancient, like you're seeing a bit of a discount there to balance that out. But otherwise, yeah, it's just a straight increase there.
Okay.
Well, the Vanguard
Mostly
vet
I
stuff
see
hit them
those.
as well, right? Like, that's pretty heavy for them.
Yeah, they also
How-
use the Vanguard vets. Yeah. So who we didn't talk about is Ultramarines, which is hysterical, because the Ultramarines list that John made avoided any, and there was only one rule change in all of this that affected them, and it's Phobos Marines not being able to leave and come back on the same turn.
Yep.
Which I didn't ever do, but it is a thing that I was shocked at that change. I thought we were playing it correctly. We were not. But it does make sense that people are not able to infiltrate. Like, it's supposed to be that they're being sneaky, and it does make sense that they are not teleporting while being sneaky. So, fine. But no point changes affected that list. No rules changes affected that list. I believe that is the best Marine list now. I think things will change over the next little while as we see exactly what is the meta. But at this exact moment, they just wandered through the field while everyone around them got nuked from orbit. So, did we forget any Imperium, Mitch? Because I forgot to talk about Tyranids. I should talk about that before we wrap up.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, Mitch must be gone. Tyranids. Swarmlord went down 30 points. Woo! That's the best change in the history of changes. At 240 points, Swarmlord is probably an auto-include in every Tyranid list. He is just great at that point. It doesn't matter if you're playing with Damacarans or Gene Stealers, whatever. Turfagons down 20, nobody cares because the rules don't work with competitive play. Gene Stealers down 2 to 13 is probably enough to see them, but it's still a massive feel-bad if you compare them to any similar close combat unit in the game. Witches being
Because-
10, for example.
Yeah, well, Gene Stealers have, like, a kind of target they like. So to me, it almost seems like maybe at this point you bring a mob of Gene Stealers.
I think you
and
bring
try to
some 12s.
Optimize their use. Okay.
I think you bring two 12s. If you have a list of Swarmlord, I think you bring two 12s and you use them as skirmishing things. The problem is it takes like 17 Gene Stealers to kill like a unit of intercessors. Is the problem? Like they're just
Man,
not.
those wounds hit hard.
They're really good against AdMech, and they're pretty good against AdMech sometimes. They're not good against ignoring AP1 +1 armor save against 1 damage. That BS. They're not good against that. They do get AP3 attacks on some of their guys, so they'll kill some of them. But they're just not. They just don't hit hard enough anymore, and they're not durable enough anymore. And a lot, while they love that there's more terrain, they can't do all the same tricks that they used to be able to do. So I'm going to try some of them, but it's not great. Tyranid Prime went down 15. Trigon Prime went down 15. I thought the Trigon went down. If the Trigon had gone down, I was interested. The Trigon Prime is just way too expensive. Venom Cannons on the Sporocyst went down. I don't care. I know the Sporocyst is cool and all, but whatever. It's hard to deploy. Damacaron went up 25 points, and for that, Alex McDougall and I are sorry. Because it must have been us, because no one else was winning anything with them. So it must have been us, I guess. Or GW just said, well, a lot of people are complaining about this Dimicaron, we better nerf it. The problem for the Dimicaron is it doesn't hang with Admech, it doesn't hang with Yukari, it doesn't hang with Ultramarines. It's already gone from my... It's already back on the shelf in my Tyranny collection and not in the ready-to-be-played area. It just isn't... It just can't... It can't hang. If it could hide behind obscuring terrain, maybe. But there's too many armies now that just kill them both on the first turn and then the Tyranid player's playing down now 510 points. So, that's Tyranids. All right. So, Mitch, you had a time stop. If you need to go...
No, I'm good for the moment. We can go just a little longer.
Well, what I want to do before we wrap up, we're going to have to leave the second segment of Better Human, Better 40k for next time. This is just too much content. But we should talk about the missions, because that's the other big change.
Yep. Yeah, we can do that real quick.
So let's do that, and then we'll wrap it up. Basically, the missions themselves didn't change at all. I don't agree with that even a little bit. I think that the Scouring is a wildly, badly written mission. I think that lots of the missions have secondaries that are trash, and a few of them have auto 15 secondaries. Like, the primary missions need a rewrite. We didn't get that. Not worth our money, evidently. Secondaries changed quite a bit, though, and what I'm going to do is quickly summarize these, and then one of you or two of you talk about why you think that matters, and then we'll move on. Linebreaker is now was replaced with behind enemy lines. Basically, at the end of your turn, you get 2 points for each unit up to 4 that's not aircraft that's in your opponent's deployment zone. It allows for partial scoring. You only have to have them there at the end of your turn. They don't have to make it through the whole all the way to your next turn. I think that's just in general a better improvement to that. Anybody comment on Linebreaker?
It made it usable.
All right.
Yeah, there are certain armies and units that'll just be able to accomplish that.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I think it's something you can build into your list. And I think any secondary that requires you to intentionally account for it in your list design is a good thing.
Yeah, okay. I like that. Domination was replaced with Stranglehold. Before, you just had to have more objectives than your opponent. Now you have to have at least 3 and more than your opponent. And while that is harder on smaller objective tables, it is easier on 6 objectives.
No, it's the same on smaller objective tables. Before you had to have more than half.
No, because before you could have 2 and they could have 1.
Right, I guess that's the thing.
Oh no, you had to have more than half. You had to have more than half. You're right.
You had to control more than half. So you had to be on 3. It's actually just gotten easier for the 6th level table.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I think it's good because it makes it appear more often, and particularly armies like Death Guard and stuff. Look at that mission a lot.
Okay.
I've been taking it when I've been playing AdMech a lot. And honestly, like I would play this, like I never played it on 6 objective missions, and now I would try.
All right. I like that.
You can blow them off of 1 and be on 3. You get your points.
The next change I love, which is Thin the Ranks changing to no prisoners. It does not give points for vehicles, monsters, or characters anymore, which is great because that was doubling up with Big Game. And instead it gives a point for every 10 wounds of everything else you kill that isn't a vehicle, monster, or character. I think that's a great change. It's more interesting against Custodes. It's more interesting again. It's probably not. They probably don't have enough models, but it seems like it would be more interesting against Custodes. Marines have so many 2-wound characters that it makes a big difference against them. So yeah, no, I think that's the perfect change for that. I think it's not going to get 15 very often.
Like as an orc player, one of the things I would do would try to dodge Thin the Ranks being good, right? So I'd have like 90 boys, and then a bunch of tougher targets like mega knobs or something like that. That would, if you kill my whole army, sure, but chances are you're only going to get like 10 points out of it. This kind of prevents me from escaping that, which I think is something supposed to be trying to hold the horde back. So positive, but I don't like it.
Okay, when we stand, we fight. Now if a unit splits in 2, you get partial credit if half of the unit is alive, not full credit if half the unit is alive. Wonderful change. Take that, Marines, basically.
Ooh, no. I'm
I'll take that orcs as well.
Yeah.
It's just better. The game just needed that.
Yep.
Okay. Purge enemy. Cut off the head's been removed. That was to kill your enemy's warlord. That was not going to work out. It's gone.
Yeah.
Assassination
Not a new
replaces
trap
Assassinate. You get extra VP for destroying a character that also happens to be the enemy warlord. That's cool. Bring It Down just changed to the way the FAQ changed it, so it's 1 point for 10 and under, 2 for 11 and over, 3 for 20 and over. I think that's great. Vehicle heavy armies are a thing, and I actually will take Bring It Down in a lot of matchups, even if it won't give me a 15. Like, I'll take it if it's like a 12 or a 10, because often in those matchups you have to kill those vehicles to not get tabled, right? Like if you're playing against the Ultramarines, are you literally not going to kill any of their vehicles the whole game? Like, really? If you are, you're going to get tabled and get a bad score anyways. So you might as well get points when you're killing them. Yeah. Titan Hunter changed. I don't understand how it's different. Let's see. You now score 4 for destroying 1 enemy Titanic rather than 10. 9 for destroying 2 and 15 for destroying 3. So it's worse, basically.
Sort of.
Yeah, it definitely
depends on who you are.
Right. It's like, so if you have one Titanic model in your army, it's less bad for you. Like, you're not penalized by 10 points for having that, because your opponent's going to take that if they think they can easily kill that model, because it's an easy 10 points if you can kill one Titanic model, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and Danny, they also made it so you pay less CP to have that one Titanic model.
That's right.
Yeah.
I didn't think about before that those two things go together. That's a net buff to Titanic models.
Like, knight armies only had to lose 2 knights, and they gave up a full 15 points. Like, this was part of an impressive amount of nerfing to super heavy players.
Okay.
So I think it's positive, because I think why are you pushing them down? Right? Like, it's not like they're ruining anything. Let them have their fun.
They're already having a hard time, right?
Yeah.
Like doing the mission.
Okay, so deploy Scramblers is now retrieve Octarius data. Basically, you get to do it in each quarter of the table, and each quarter gives you 4 points. Basically.
I think this is good from a...
No. Sorry, I'm wrong. You score 4 if you did the action twice, 8 3 times, and 12 for 4 times. That's not the way I thought it was. So, yeah. So it's a max of 12 now, but you have to do all 4 quarters. So it's easier to get... It's possible to get more points, and it's easier to get some points, because it's not 10 or nothing.
And I do feel like we haven't had a ton of experiences at tournaments, but I do feel like when I play somebody whose skill level is some number of levels below mine, they'll often take deploy Scramblers, and it doesn't take me a lot to screen out my deployment zone, right? Like, the way it was it was a bad trap.
It was a skill check.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it wasn't.
Does your
I don't think it was a
opponent
good
know
one.
how to stop this of secondary?
Yeah, and it's not hard once they do know. Like, I don't know. It felt like a trap. I didn't feel like it was good. I've won a couple of games that, I made massive mistakes on, because I was just like, well, I can also just, take 10 points away from you.
Right.
This will lower that down quite a bit.
I think I'm going to more often give up 4 and 8, and I'm never going to give up... I think I'm going to more often give up 4 and never give up 8 and 12. That's what I think's going to happen. Like...
Yeah.
I think that it's... I think deploy Scramblers was our gamble to begin with, and this is just... If you take it and you fail your gamble, at least you get 4 points. That's how I read this, basically. Teleport Homer was replaced with deploy Teleport Homers. It allows you to... wholly within the 12 inches of your opponent's deployment zone, but you have to hang out there until your next command phase, and you score 2 victory points if you complete the action. If 2 units do it, you get 4. It's only infantry or bikers. That's hanging out awful close to your enemy. I don't know how close people are going to do that. We'll see.
I think this is for when somebody's going to take every piece of their army and launch it into you, and you have things that can, show up there.
Yeah. That
Right?
makes sense.
Unless that army's prevalent, you don't see it.
Abhor of the Witch is just matching the errata, so that's fine. Mental interrogation.
Not fine, but it's what happened.
Yeah. Mental interrogation was replaced with psychic interrogation. You now score 3 victory points each time you complete the psychic interrogation action, which is Warp Charge 4, which can be attempted while you're within 24 inches of a visible enemy character. So it's more range, basically, is the main change.
And it requires visibility.
Yeah.
Right.
The LOS is a big nerf, I think. I think it's less good.
Okay. Psychic Ritual was replaced with Warp Ritual. You now keep a tally of ritual points each time you complete the Warp Charge 3 action, which can be done within 6 inches of the center of the table. At the end of the battle, you get 3 points for doing this once, 7 for doing it twice, 12 for doing it 3 times. So this is the same change as Scramblers, where they're like, if you do it a little bit, you should get some points.
It's also another change in that you don't have to have the same psyker do the whole thing.
Right.
So I think this is a far more usable item, and particularly with Grey Knights and Thousand Suns coming around the corner, we're going to see a lot of it.
Cool.
All right, we got some questions to go through, guys, before we wrap up here.
All right.
Does it feel like a different team has been handling the FAQs and chapter approved for most of 9th except for this latest fact? The latest fact feels much more like the team from 8th did. Interesting.
Not to me. I've continued to be sort of impressed by how well they're handling things with the chapter approved to the side, but I think that just the model of the chapter approved is too difficult. They can't predict the future.
Yeah, it's bad. I think the facts in general are good. I usually like facts.
I don't think that. I mean, I'm sure that they have some sort of like a certain amount of staff turnover of some kind, but I don't really think that the who's writing anything has changed that much. I think it's the same team. I think what you're probably seeing, if anything, is maybe a little more influence from the social side, the people who listen and interact with the player base, the Warhammer community, Facebook team, and all that. They might be sending more feedback to the fact team. So that's why we saw like Dark Angels get hit so hard, like because there was so much wailing and gnashing of teeth about them when they first came out. So I think that what we might be seeing is maybe a little bit more reaction based, like feedback based FAQs or points.
Okay. I like that. There's actually so many other questions here. Most of these people agreeing with us.
All right.
Someone just said they certainly did listen to Naden, which I think is funny. No conspiracy theory there. I will say that the two most amusing things that happened for me weren't directly related to what's in the fact, but what's not. The first thing I was told was John Lennon. I was told by people on the internet that messaged the show. It's really douchey, this is a quote, that John Lennon kept the Ultramarines list secret long enough to make sure it wasn't affected by the FAQ or chapter approved. The level of four-dimensional chess that John Lennon is playing, evidently, it's so big. So, I just don't even know, guys. I don't even know how to respond to that. I did not respond...
I think this is spawned from how they kept the Iron Hands list under wraps for so long. I think that has spawned a paranoia, possibly.
They kept it under wraps for a month?
Yeah, for a month so they could win LVO. People need to get over it.
But people will extrapolate that. That's just reductio ad absurdum. Like, that's what people do. Yeah. They go, well, if they could do that, then it must be.
Well, then he did, and good on him.
Yeah, right?
Well played.
And you know what? It's just good because of the meta right now. That's why it's good. If you don't like it and your friend's playing it, take a whole bunch of las cannons and let me know how that goes. Like, take a whole bunch of your high damage shooting and shoot the dreadnoughts with it, and tell me how that goes for you.
Well, don't forget to bring a bunch of trash, because you can put something on the objectives. You get the dreadnought to come out, then you blow it away.
Yep.
Goes back to people forget that lists are only ever meta contextually good unless they're broken.
Yep.
And the whole game is to play on or off meta. That's the whole hunt for competitive 40k is, this is what's on meta. The Ultra Memes is now the relevant meta list. Now everyone will adjust and pivot. And if there is not a counter to that exists, then it is broken. Mm-hmm. Right? That's how that works. So
wonderfully
guys,
put, wonderfully
adapt. Start learn how that list works, expand your own knowledge base based on just understanding it, and then figure out how you want to counter it.
Man, I love that. Missiles. Man, I love that. So here's the other funny thing. So Seal of Oath, for those that don't know, is a relic. At the beginning of the game, you pick a target. Everybody within 6 inches of that relic in the Ultramarines list gets free roll hits and wounds against that target. That's very good. That's better than all the grudges, which Mitch already loves and takes all the time. Only better.
I do.
It's already one of the strongest relics in the game. Turns out, there's a whole bunch of you that thought that the Ultramarines player could retarget that each turn. And GW had to clarify the language to tell you that's not okay. I want to be clear. It has not been like that. The language was very clear. Very clear. And I also would like to say that if your friends were playing it that way against you, you need different friends. You need friends who are literate and are not D-bags. Those are the friends that you're looking for. People that are amazing at the game messaged me about this. People that win GTs messaged me and said, I'm so glad they fixed Seal of Oath. Which means that there are people out there that have been playing this thing, retargeting in each turn, and those are bad people that we have to get out of the hobby. Like, those people, they have to be gone. Because it was not even remotely worded that way. When I heard that, I went back and read the language. And said, no, it just simply doesn't do that. There's just simply no way to interpret it that way. But I received 5 messages from 5 different people the day that these rules came out telling me that Seal of Oath was nerfed. It was not. It behaves exactly the way it's supposed to. They did fix the wording. That is hysterical. Your friends need to read books, guys. They need to read and understand how rules. Look on Danny's face right now. Danny, how does that make you feel?
So it really cracks me up. First of all, I was looking at Chuck's reaction, and it made me laugh really hard. It was just like this person, like just a look of pure horror.
Yeah.
I already hate it.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine that if it did that and people are still not playing Ultramarines? Can you imagine the depth of stupidity that would be?
You're only tabling 2 people at turn 4, so clearly that change needs to happen to get it down to 2 or 3 on a regular basis.
Oh
man, you guys.
Also, I just gave it a read, and it does very clearly say first battleground. Like
I mean,
I'm often like I can kind of bend around and be like, how do people see this? I don't know.
Yeah. So it's like the language for when they were arguing that even ones to save worked on orc units in a very specific situation in part of 8th, and I was just like, no, that's clearly not a thing. Why are we arguing it? Right? Like so.
There are
sometimes
relevant rules questions we can be addressing in this with this energy. We're just addressing nonsense.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that can be fun sometimes.
All right.
Oh yeah, for sure. No.
So, good news, everyone. Seal of Oath can't be retargeted every turn.
Oh,
good news.
How about next? It can't be targeted at all. That seems great. Maybe I get to pick the unit you get to re-roll against.
This one Death Cult Assassin. So you get to re-roll against.
They come in 2s. It's fine.
I did my favorite use of rerolls was the. Never mind. This story's not funny. Okay, so that's it for now. We did not get to part 2 of Better Human Better 40K. That's going to be something we're going to do in every episode. But this episode we had like a ridiculous amount of content to cover, so we covered it.
Yeah.
Then we had Danny here, and talking about being a better human is really unkind.
That's just me.
Yeah, why do you got to call me out like that?
Yeah, exactly. It felt a little too specific and targeted. This isn't an intervention. You're among friends.
There is a story about Danny that we will leave the episode with. I had not met Danny before he came to Charity Hammer. Maybe we met at LVO, Danny. And shook hands. I don't remember. But we didn't know each other that well when you came to Charity Hammer.
Yeah, yep.
And I had no idea if you were good or not, because what I did know is that Pablo did really, really well in an Alaska GT. And I've played Pablo, and while Pablo is a good player, Pablo is not someone that can go to Charity Hammer and win a bunch of games.
I'd also like to add that Pablo beat me at said GT.
Yeah. So my impression was that Danny is this guy from Mob Rules that's funny and maybe not good. That was my impression of Danny. But I didn't know, and I was welcome to see. And Danny came down, and he wrecked a whole bunch of people. And someone said, why did you think Danny was bad? And I said, well, because I know what my meta's like. And I know that Danny's meta is supposedly softer than mine. But I was wrong. Danny did great at Charity Hammer, and it was very amusing. It was much like how when Nick came out here for the first time and saw that some of us actually do know how to play 40K in the Pacific Northwest and was shocked.
I had to work really hard to get Danny and I's game to go to fill the time slot. Like, he did so much damage to me so quickly. I had to okay, now let's go run and hide so that we can actually play through the turn.
But that was an Iron Hands problem as well.
It was an Iron Hands into a Chaos problem, but still, it was a.
It was a super fun game.
Yeah, it was we had a great time. We just really had to pad for time.
Okay, so here's our final thing. I want each person to talk for 10 seconds or less. Do they feel better or worse about the state of the game than they did 30 days ago? Chuck, you go first.
Better.
Why is that? 10 seconds. One sentence.
Drukhari are better and not as oppressive.
Okay.
And I believe that allowed the meta to be more of a variety of things can exist instead of everybody having to MSU everything all the time.
Okay. Danny?
Oh, can I say neutral? Because like, well, they fixed Drukhari. I'm worried about Admech at
Yep.
the same time.
Yep.
And I don't know how they're going to tackle that. But I'm excited for the future. I have confidence in Games Workshop. So I would say I'm positive.
Okay,
I
Mitch.
feel better.
I feel exactly the same because Games Workshop is the same Games Workshop it's been. I have not changed my expectations for how these rollouts will go. So I there's always going to be broken jank when stuff comes out. The big difference now is they tend to nerf it in some shape or form. So as someone who was fired in like the hellscape that was 7th, as everyone likes to talk about it, none of these faze me. Personally, I think that it's better to just be like, okay, let's give constructive feedback on how I would like to see these things change. So hopefully that's the conversation that happens in the community that Games Workshop sees. So balanced nerfs like what we saw with Dark Eldar happen. As opposed to what we see with Dark Angels, where everyone loses their minds, and it turns out, they're good. Now they're not, because we didn't, have a healthy conversation about it. Right. So that's kind of where I come from.
Okay. So I purposely had Mitch go before me so that the show would end with optimism. It was on purpose. I love you, Mitch. I knew that would be your take, and I would have a hard time arguing with your take. But I would say, here's a few things that give me optimism. The books are coming out quickly at this exact moment, which is a thing that we've needed for a long time. The Drukhari nerf is perfect. I believe that it is completely the correct nerf, and the fact that they did it means that they're listening. And I think that all of the books being as good as Drukhari is a better state than none of the books being as good as Drukhari. No, actually, I don't care about that, because if none of the books were as good as Drukhari, they'd nerf Drukhari into the ground and we'd all be fine. But I think that in general we're seeing a lot of positivity from them right now, and I like that they did the FAQ in points basically without warning us. They're just like, here's a bunch of stuff we saw. I think they missed on a bunch of it, but I think that in general the Drukhari nerfs are very positive, because that means that a month from now, if Admech are as bad, we'll get Admech nerfs as well. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I just to be clear, I wasn't trying to go negative with stuff.
No,
I think that
I think you're right. I think you're right.
I think an even-handed perspective is gonna give everyone who's played this game for a long time, or maybe is new to this game. If you just take the even, okay, there are gonna be months where things are broken. That's okay. I'm gonna play with my friends. I have a group of people who I can enjoy playing with, whether or not those things are broken, and we can explore how to counter them. That is the game, and that's always going to be an aspect of it. So embrace it and view it as your chance to be the underdog and to try and come up with the answer, and know that it's going to just be something different, in a few months, and that's the whole fun of the game.
Be the guy that goes and wins the GT with Ultramarines when everybody's talking about Drukhari. Be that guy. It's really fun. Yeah. So, okay. All right, everybody. That's it for now. Danny, thank you so much for coming on. We'll make sure to have you on again. And
one last
Thank
thing.
you for having me.
Michael Timpey's Kickstarter, Outward Realms. Again, go support it. They're over $30,000. It's an amazing little game. The Discord community has hit like over 150 people now or something. Really cool, positive Discord where you can learn about the game, and people are getting test games in and talking about their experiences. Check it out.
Love that.
Sorry.
Yeah,
no, it's great.
Game.
You're right.
Look forward to Mob Rules still happening, but getting a little extra. What's the name of it again? That was brilliant.
Grim After Dark.
Yeah,
that sounds wonderful.
Super
I'm excited to
for
see it.
too.
And Danny and John Lennon are going to play a game of Outward Realms at Charity Hammer on stream. That's also a thing that's happening.
It's going to be great.
Yep.
So that's really great. I think they already picked their factions too. I think that they both are excited about different things from each other. So who are you? You're excited about the
people?
the humans?
Oh, no, I like the Nightfall.
Oh,
is where it's
the AI people. Okay.
Yeah, Nightfall. I've got a Batra and Nightfall full Battle Force pack ordered. They're nice. Rad.
Awesome.
Gus is stressing me out. I feel like he's going to fall off the bed at any moment.
If he does, it'll be adorable.
What are you doing? Oh, this is a dog that desperately needs my attention. That's what's happening right now. Okay, with that, we have to end the show because Gus needs me. So,
right.
Thank you, everyone. I'm sure Fred needs attention as well. I've not heard his snoring, so he's got to be somewhere.
Yeah, he's locked out of the room. He was just barking at the door, asking to be let in. So.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We love you, all of you. If you want to support the show, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/BiffPod. The BiffPod community that gets you into is amazing. Strong recommendation there. We joke that it's the Mob Rules Discord. It's not, but there's a lot of Mob Rules fans in there as well, so they get talked about
Turns out
quite a
there's
bit.
a lot of crossover.
Yes.
You know what? There's the best $5 that you can spend, like in Warhammer. Like it's the best. It's definitely the best value that you can get for your $5. The community is amazing.
Thanks, Danny.
Well, thank you. And the check
That
is
means
in
a
the
lot
mail.
coming from you, Danny.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll be back in a couple weeks. We'll be back in 2 weeks from today, talking about our hopefully victorious team tournament, and also continuing with Better Human, Better 40K. So bye for everybody for now. Please mark your calendars for Charity Hammer. We need you to watch it. We need you to donate. So we'll talk to you all soon. Bye now.